121. Subduing the wind chime. Yu Qing stared at the empty patch of ground and nodded with quiet satisfaction. Not bad power. Although the galactic saber intent remained only in its embryonic form, its potency, especially the soul and origin-erasing property, far exceeded his expectations. Husband, Zirui hurried over, eyes glittering with admiration. Is this another spirit ability you created? It's incredible and so beautiful. Yu Qing only smiled. More or less. He gave no more details. After all, the divine technique Falling Night Galaxy had come from a system reward. He moved to Ah Yin's side and looked down at the woman still dazed on the ground. The 3 spirit masters who hunted you are dead. Once you've recovered a little, you can leave. All right. The woman finally shook off her shock. She forced herself upright and with trembling gratitude said, Many, many thanks, benefactor, for saving my life. May I know your name? Yu Qing asked. I'm Yu Qing. He indicated the 2 women beside him. This is Zirui and Ah Yin. Yu Qing, Zirui, Ah Yin. Feng Lingyin repeated the names softly, as if carving them into her memory. Feng Lingyin, remembered. Benefactor, I, Feng Lingyin, will surely repay this debt, even if I must braid grass into a ring or hold a pebble in my mouth to show my devotion. Her voice was utterly earnest. Ah Yin, who had been quietly sensing the woman's injuries, sighed softly. Miss Feng, your external wounds are temporarily stabilized with life energy, but you pushed your potential to the limit to escape, and those 3's corrupt spirit power ate into your origin. Even when your external injuries heal, your cultivation foundation has suffered irreversible harm. Ah Yin's tone was heavy with regret. I'm afraid you'll be stuck at the spirit Douluo realm for the rest of your life, and your lifespan will be significantly shortened. What? Feng Lingyin's body trembled, her face went ashen, and despair flickered in her eyes. She had half expected the verdict, but hearing it aloud still struck her like a blow. She forced a bitter smile. To live is fortune enough. However, Ah Yin's voice softened. There is still a sliver of hope. Really? Light returned to Feng Lingyin's eyes. She grabbed Ah Yin's hands, voice shaking with urgency. What way? Please, tell me. Ah Yin met her desperate gaze and shook her head gently. Not yet. Wait until I advance to titled Douluo. When that happens, my blue-silver emperor will undergo a qualitative leap. I may then gain the power to fully restore your damaged origin. Titled Douluo, the glow in Feng Lingyin's eyes dimmed again, a bitter smile at her lips. That could take forever. She knew the gulf between Spirit Saint and titled Douluo. Even a prodigy might need 20 or 30 grueling years, and by then her candle would likely be snuffed out. As despair closed in, Zirui laughed lightly. Ah Yin can't cure you now. But, she glanced meaningfully at Yu Qing, someone here can do it right this moment. Who? Feng Lingyin snapped her head up, following Zirui's gaze to Yu Qing. Benefactor you? Disbelief colored her face. The instant kill of the 3 ghosts of the Black Scorpion had been so overwhelming, she had assumed he was a titled Douluo, wielding a powerful spirit bone skill or some self-created ability. Still, clinging to any hope, she stammered, Benefactor you, can you truly heal my origin wound? Zirui answered confidently, Of course. My husband can do anything. Her tone shifted playfully. Still, we've already saved your life. That's a huge kindness. Surely you don't expect us to exhaust ourselves further to heal your troublesome origin injury for nothing? Feng Lingyin bit her lip, then resolve flared in her eyes. After a heartbeat, she lifted her head. If Benefactor you can restore me. I, Feng Lingyin, swear to serve you for 30 years to repay this second life you grant me. 30 years, neither long nor short for a spirit Douluo, but it was her limit. Zirui looked as if she might bargain for a longer contract, but Yu Qing cut in flatly. Agreed. Relief flooded Feng Lingyin. Settled, she said solemnly. Without another word, Yu Qing summoned the life golden leaf martial soul and intoned the spirit incantation, ever-blooming blue-silver leaf. A single leaf, blue and translucent as glass, drifted free from the life golden leaf martial soul. Swallow it, Yu Qing said. My 5th spirit ability can stir a fountain of life, releasing boundless vitality that mends every injury, even wounds that touch the origin. Feng Lingyin took the azure leaf without hesitation and placed it in her mouth. It dissolved instantly, flooding her with warm, vast streams of life. She couldn't help a soft moan as her ghastly external wounds knitted before her eyes. Scabs fell away to reveal new, flawless skin. Even more miraculous, the torn channel of her origin began to mend under that life force. Drained potential surged back, vibrant and whole. In breaths, she felt not only restored but reborn, stronger than she had been before the injury. This is a divine technique. Tears of joy sprang to her eyes as she flexed her limbs and felt spirit power stronger than ever. Overwhelmed with gratitude and awe toward Yu Qing, she dropped to one knee. I, Feng Lingyan, am a level 86 Agility Attack System Spirit Douluo. From this day forward, I am with you. 122. The Establishment of the Apocalypse Court and the Church of the Animals. Yu Qing had wiped 3 powerful fallen spirit masters from the brink with effortless ease, and then healed his own mortal origin injury with a single miraculous leaf. Feng Lingyan was shaken to her core. What kind of being was he? A titled Douluo, someone who could stand tall among the top, yet he seemed so vulnerable before Yu Qing. His healing method, she thought, was even more formidable than the 9-hearted flowering crabapple, the world's premier healing spirit. An instinctive, uncontrollable urge grew in her. Follow him. She must follow him. Someone with such unfathomable power and the ability to bring the nearly dead back to life was an irresistible golden thigh to cling to. Joining him meant safety, almost a second life, even a third. From their brief contact, Yu Qing had seemed cold and ruthless to enemies but generous to his own. The impression comforted her resolve. Opportunities like this did not return. She approached the spirit Douluo before her with sincere, determined eyes. Yu Qing's mouth curved with a flash of satisfaction. He had worried about his sect's lack of high-end combat power, especially human spirit masters who could operate outside. Feng Lingyan offering herself was like being handed a pillow just as he was nodding off. He didn't accept outright, but he asked a few casual questions about her background, experience, and spirit. Feng Lingyan had a top-tier agility attack avian spirit, the wind-feathered horned eagle. Speedy, sharp, and at 48, her spirit power was already rank 86, exceptional even among the upper 3 sects. She had a real chance of becoming a titled Douluo someday. Not bad, Yu Qing said, and a genuine smile finally appeared. Since you want in, I'll accept you. Welcome to the Yin-Yang sect. Yin-Yang sect? Feng Lingyan blinked. She had never heard the name, but she bowed, composed herself, and greeted him respectfully. This subordinate Feng Lingyan salutes the sect leader. Yu Qing decided to sweeten the deal and deepen her loyalty. He took an item from his storage spirit tool and, without much ceremony, tossed it to her. Catch. Consider this a welcome gift. Feng Lingyan reached out reflexively. The object felt cool and smooth. When she looked down, her pupils constricted and her breath caught. A translucent cyan-green bone lay in her hand, etched with wind scar patterns. A proud, pure wind attribute energy pulsed from it, and her wind-feathered horned eagle cried out in joy. This is a spirit bone? Her voice was thin with disbelief as she tested the aura. At least 50,000 years. No, maybe a 60,000-year top-grade wind spirit bone? Her eyes brimmed with tears of gratitude and astonishment. A spirit bone of that age and attribute was priceless, enough to incite bloodshed among spirit masters and sects. And Yu Qing had tossed it to her like a pebble. Yu Qing watched her with faint amusement. Yes, it's just a spirit bone. Don't make a fuss. Handle your duties well and do your best. Spirit bones won't be lacking for you. He let the words hang, then added, in fact, helping you reach the titled Douluo level won't be difficult. Those casual words struck Feng Lingyan like lightning. Advance to titled Douluo won't be difficult, she thought, trembling with disbelief and joy. Titled Douluo was the dream of countless spirit masters, a summit that might have taken decades. Now the path seemed suddenly within reach. Overcome with gratitude and fervor, she clutched the spirit bone like a lifeline and dropped to one knee. Sect leader. Her voice choked with emotion but fierce in its conviction. Feng Lingyan swears, from this day forward, my life belongs to you, sect leader. I will brave fire and water for you and the Yin-Yang sect. If I betray this, may heaven and earth destroy me. All doubt fled from her. Only absolute loyalty remained. Yu Qing nodded. Rise, gather your things. We're leaving. He turned, and with Ah Yin and Zirui at his side, made for Silva's city. Feng Lingyan carefully stowed the spirit bone and followed them, humble and attentive. They found a comfortable hotel in Silves and stayed the night. Qing spent that night in a private, intimate harmonization with Yin, experiencing the unique flexibility and gentleness of the blue-silver emperor. They had barely finished when Ziruyi, who had been waiting outside, pushed the door open with a mischievous smile. "Husband, Yin," she purred, looking at the two of them embraced on the bed. "It's been a while since we cultivated together. The moonlight is fine tonight. Why don't the three of us have a full dual cultivation?" Seeing Zirui's eager expression and Yin's flushed but willing face, Qing laughed. "Very well, it has been a while." The three sat cross-legged, palms pressed together, and entered a rare state of yin-yang conjunction. Three streams of spirit power blended, matched, and sublimated into a stable, highly efficient circuit, far more effective than two-person dual cultivation. They cultivated through the whole night. The next morning, they emerged contented and invigorated. They ran into Feng Lingyin in the hallway. She was stretching and looked puzzled when she noticed the languid, satisfied expressions on Ziruyi and Yin and Qing's triumphant energy. A flicker of disdain crossed her face as she misinterpreted the scene. Qing noticed but didn't bother explaining. "Pack up. We're leaving," he ordered. They set off for the Sunset Forest to the northeast. Silves City wasn't far. It took less than an hour to reach the forest's edge. Into the familiar territory, Qing stopped, wrapped a protective arm around both Ziruyi and Yin, then turned to Feng Lingyin. "Hold on to me," he said. "I'm going to speed up." Feng Lingyin hesitated, caught between pride and caution as she saw him with a woman on each arm. She finally steeled herself and placed her hands lightly on his shoulders. Qing raised an eyebrow. "Sure you don't want to hold tighter? We'll be doing a space shuttle. If you get flung into a chaotic space crack, no one will save you." At the mention of space shuttle, her face went white. She had heard how dangerous it could be, yet survival won out over shame. She closed her eyes, wrapped her arms tightly around his waist, and buried her face in his back. Qing felt the soft, relieved weight against him and smirked inwardly. Then, with a thought, the silver spatial force beneath his feet flared and the four vanished like ghosts. Moments later, when Feng Lingyin opened her eyes, she was in an unfamiliar valley. Dense origin qi, a strange spring that mingled ice and fire, and exotic flowers and herbs surrounded them. She felt the place's power at once. "This is the base of our yin-yang sect, the ice and fire yin-yang well," Qing said, releasing the two women and turning to the still dizzy Feng Lingyin. "Remember a few things while you're here. Don't approach that ice and fire spring. Don't touch the plants or flowers at will. Don't disturb anyone who's meditating or living here. If anything happens because you don't listen, don't blame me." "Understood, sect leader," Feng Lingyin bowed, committing the warnings to memory. The valley's aura of mystery and danger impressed itself on her. Back at the main base, Qing attended to his wives who'd remained behind, taking care of the needs and longings that had built up. He then checked on Shu Wei and Shu Wuxiang's fetuses. Once he confirmed the unborn children were vigorous and developing properly, he relaxed. Next, he inspected his three disciples' cultivation. The results pleased him. Duguyan's spirit power had risen to rank 19, and she was close to her second spirit ring. Ling Xin and Ling Mao had absorbed their 10,000-year fourth spirit rings and consolidated well. Both had reached rank 46. At that pace, breaking through to Spirit King within a year was a realistic expectation. After settling these matters, Qing called a meeting in a temporary hall. Present were his two fathers-in-law, Dugu Bo, Aru, and the newly recruited Feng Lingyin. Once they sat, Qing looked at the five of them and spoke slowly. "I called you here for one thing. I'm going to establish two new halls. The first is the Guardian Court." He fixed Feng Lingyin with his gaze. "Its duty will be to guard our sect, respond to enemy incursions, handle external disputes, and carry out special missions. Membership requires high strength. Hall members must be at least Spirit Emperor level. The Hall Master will be you, Feng Lingyin." Feng Lingyin rose immediately. "Yes, I accept. I will not let the sect leader down." Qing went on. "However, at the moment there are no other human spirit masters in the sect at Spirit Emperor level besides you. For now, you may be a commander without an army." Feng Lingyin only grew more confident. "Do not worry, sect leader. I've traveled widely and have trustworthy friends. I can recruit at least 5 spirit emperors in short order. Qing nodded in approval. Good. Recruit the first core members for the Guardian Court. If you do well, the rewards will be plentiful. Her eyes lit up at the word rewards. Leave it to me, sect leader. I'll get it done. Qing suppressed a small twitch and continued. The second hall is the Myriad Beast Hall. Its members will be high-level spirit beasts rather than human spirit masters. Aru, you'll be the hall master. It's appropriate that you manage the spirit beasts that join our sect. Aru smiled and accepted. Fox Consort and Ah Yin will also be temporarily assigned to the Myriad Beast Hall, Qing added. The 3 of you can manage the hall together. Aru agreed. Qing then turned to his 2 fathers-in-law. Hallmaster Z, he asked, have there been any notable pairings among the ordinary disciples? Any male and female disciples forming partnerships? He was concerned because he planned to promote appropriate-age disciple pairings so they could practice the dual cultivation secret codex together, accelerating their spirit power growth and strengthening the yin-yang sect. Qing's offhand question immediately put Father Z and Father Duan on alert. The 2 fathers-in-law, whose fates were already tightly bound to the yin-yang sect, exchanged a quick glance and a silent understanding passed between them. After a moment, the elder, Father Z, reported first. Reporting to the sect leader, since the Duan and Z families joined the yin-yang sect, a number of our young disciples, both men and women, have fallen in love and want to marry. He paused, smiling wryly. Most of them worry that marriage will distract them and slow their spirit power cultivation. For now, it's only talk. None of them have actually married. Father Duan nodded. Qing was unsurprised. In this world where strength decided everything, ordinary-born spirit masters bent on rising through the realms often treated marriage and ambition as mutually exclusive. But for the yin-yang sect, which possessed the dual cultivation secret codex and the soul power compression method, 2 advantages that bent the rules, marriage posed no real obstacle. He smiled faintly. If there's affection between them, do your best to play matchmaker. Once they are married, his gaze swept over the 2 elders. You may pass on the dual cultivation secret codex and the soul power compression method. These 2 are the true foundation and greatest advantage of our yin-yang sect. With the dual cultivation codex, marriage won't hinder their training. Yin-yang harmonization between husband and wife will make their spirit power rise far faster. And with the soul power compression method, rapid progress won't leave their foundations unstable or their spirit power hollow. Understood, sect leader. Father Z and Father Duan brightened and bowed in unison. We'll begin right away and unite these loving couples as soon as possible. Both men were already beneficiaries of dual cultivation and knew its gains intimately. One night with a spouse could equal nearly half a year of solitary practice, plus incomparable pleasure. Coupled with the soul power compression method, which continuously purified and strengthened one's power, there was no longer any fear of a shaky foundation from fast advancement. The prospect of granting these arts to core members filled them with zeal. The meeting ended and everyone dispersed to their tasks. Qing, accompanied by Ah Yin and Zi Rui, moved to a prepared area beside the ice and fire yin-yang well to transplant clans of cloud-shading vines and the blue-silver grass tribe en masse from the Myriad Beast Illustrated Codex. With a thought, the codex appeared in his hand and he began releasing the spirit beasts. Ordinary blue-silver grass and cloud-shading vines of 100 and 1,000-year levels were spread through the outer zone. The energy there, while weaker than the core, was still far richer than the outside world, ample for healthy growth. 10,000-year blue-silver kings and mighty cloud-shading vines were placed nearer the spring's eye, where interwoven ice and fire energies would accelerate their evolution. Little Blue, the 80,000-year blue-silver king and second in command of her tribe, and the 6,000-year cloud-shading vine elder, the strongest of his kind, were settled closest to the spring in the most abundant energy zone. Some higher intellect or more domesticated beasts, having tasted the Codex's near-perfect interior environment, chose to remain inside rather than relocate. Respecting these homebody beasts, Qing didn't force them. The Codex was vast enough to support them. When the high-rank beasts Deming summoned sensed the ice and fire yin-yang well, and the powerful auras of the 300,000-year human-formed spirit beasts, Aru, Fox Consort, and Yin, they clamored to join the myriad beast hall. Integration proceeded smoothly, and in a single leap, the hall became second only to the Blue Radiance Hall. Erming dashed off in delighted haste to find his missing sister Xiao Wu. With this colossal yet gentle supermount and playmate, Xiao Wu once again became the most admired child king. She rode Erming's shoulders daily, while a chattering train of excited little beasts followed, laughter echoing through the valley. Erming showed astonishing patience with the youngsters, even letting them clamber over his mountain-like body. Any outsider who had seen his docile manner would have been stunned. With sect affairs settled, Qing turned to two main tasks. First, he applied himself to plowing, tending to his insatiable collection of wives, reveling in the intoxicating joys of yin-yang harmonization and the marvels of dual cultivation. Second, he focused on perfecting and condensing his soul incarnation, preparing to wait by the tree for the rabbit in Saint Spirit Village soon enough. Time slipped by in a blur of contentment and work. 3 months passed before he realized his soul incarnation had finally been refined to perfection. It could now leave his body for long periods, exist independently, and carry out complex tasks. Just as he was celebrating that achievement, that night after a hearty session of yin-yang harmonization with Yin, a sudden system chime rang in his mind. Ding! Special life fluctuation detected. Congratulations, host, your Tao companion. Yin is super fertile and has successfully conceived. Rewards issued. Offspring Treasure Chest X1, Soul Power Crystal, Red X5, Stellar Body Tempering Milk X3, Myriad Phenomena Foundation Establishing Spirit Liquid X2, Primal Soul Source Fruit X2. Qing, who had been about to begin another yin-yang conjunction with Yin, froze in surprise. Yin is pregnant. He pressed his palm to her smooth, flat belly and sent out a trace of life power to sense carefully. Inside, a faint but unmistakably vigorous heartbeat pulsed. It's true, really true. Overjoyed, he gathered the still bewildered Yin into his arms and showered her forehead and lips with kisses. Husband? Yin, cheeks flushed, asked shyly. What's wrong? He cupped her face, eyes shining. Yin, my wonderful Yin, you're incredible. You're going to be a mother. She blinked, then her sapphire eyes widened. Oh, really, husband? You're not teasing me? Her voice trembled with joy. When have I ever lied to you? He kissed her again. Feel for yourself. He rested his hand over her trusting heart. Yin closed her eyes and focused inward toward her lower abdomen. Moments later, she opened them again, radiant. I feel it, a tiny life inside. Tears thick in her voice, she hugged him fiercely. Husband, I'm going to be a mom. I really am. She had expected it to take as long and as much effort as Sister Aru, Fox Consort, and Purple Pearl needed, yet bliss had come so suddenly, so effortlessly. The joyous news spread through the ice and fire yin-yang well like wildfire. Duanxin and Zirui, who had already borne Qing children, congratulated Yin sincerely. Aru and Purple Pearl, not yet pregnant, were happy for her, but couldn't hide a flash of envy. They gave their husband burning looks. And for the next month, Qing endured a relentless period as the two competed with frantic eagerness, doing everything they could to score next. Fox Consort remained calm. She enjoyed yin-yang practice for the balance and power it brought. Children were a pleasant bonus. If they came, fine. If not, she would be content. She teased her two frantic sisters mercilessly. After that month of wild effort, Aru and Purple Pearl eventually wore themselves out, and Qing, feeling pity, cooled things down. They both slipped into a serene, desire-free sage mode, drawing even more teasing from Fox Consort. Only a few days after Yin's pregnancy was announced, another great joy arrived. Shui Wuyue and Shui Wuxiang each gave birth on the same day. Ding, Tao companion, Shui Wuyue has delivered. The child possesses innate, extraordinary talent and a solid foundation. Host rewarded, lifespan to 50 years, yin-yang points plus 100,000, special treasure chest. Ding, Tao companion Shui Wuxiang has delivered. The child possesses innate, extraordinary talent and natural spirituality. Host rewarded, lifespan plus 50 years, yin-yang points 100,000, special treasure chest S1. To Qing's mild surprise, as in the original story, both babies were girls. He waited outside the delivery room and accepted the two softly swaddled infants from the midwife. Gazing at their tiny, red, wrinkled yet vibrant faces, he smiled with infinite tenderness. 124. Birthday banquet and the turmoil at the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School. Husband, look! Shui Weiwei, still pale but shining with joy and pride, leaned against the headboard and pointed at the baby girl cradled in Yu Qing's arms. This is our daughter. Isn't she the sweetest? Yu Qing stepped closer with a smile and gently pinched Shui Weiwei's nose. She'll grow up to be as lovely as her mother. Of course, Shui Weiwei lifted her chin with proud certainty. My girl will be the cutest in our sect. On the other side, the usually reserved Shui Wuxiang showed a rare softness. She looked at Yu Qing and murmured, Husband, give our child a name. Yu Qing glanced at the two infants, considered for a moment, then smiled. Weiwei's daughter will be Yu Er, and Wuxiang's will be Yu Binger. How does that sound? The sisters exchanged a look, saw the approval in each other's eyes, and nodded together. Good, Yu Er and Binger it is. The double happiness of Yin's pregnancy and the safe deliveries for the Shui sisters put Yu Qing in the highest of spirits. The very next day, he waved a generous hand and arranged a large birthday banquet in the ice and fire yin-yang. Well, to celebrate the two little princesses and share the joy with the whole sect. The tables overflowed with delicacies and fine wine. The atmosphere was jubilant. Yu Qing announced cheerfully, every follower here today will receive a gift personally prepared by me. When the crowd saw the mountains of rare herbs, soul power crystals, and curious cultivation aids, thunderous cheers erupted, faces flushed with excitement. They all knew the incredible worth of those items. Outside, they would drive spirit masters wild, yet here everyone would receive a share. Long live the sect master. Thank you for your generosity. Grateful shouts rolled across the valley. Many disciples were moved to tears and vowed to serve the sect master and the yin-yang sect even more fervently. An experienced spirit master roughly calculated that the prizes alone could lift a spirit elder 2 or even 3 ranks within 2 months, without jeopardizing their foundation. Such lavish generosity underscored how highly Yu Qing valued his followers and the celebration. Hey lad! Dugubo strolled up with a wine cup, slapped Yu Qing's shoulder, and grinned, half in jest, half in envy. They say titled Douluo hardly have children, yet here you are popping them out one after another, almost 5 now. He counted on his fingers. Duanxin's boy, Zirui's girl, the Shui sisters' 2 daughters, and now Yin's expecting. Tsk, you're basically a walking child-bestowing Guanyin. Yu Qing laughed, unable to hide his smugness. Just good luck, he said, his face clearly boasting. Yeah, I'm that awesome. A graceful figure approached carrying a wine cup, Ning Fengya. Sect master, she said softly, offering sincere congratulations. May your 2 new daughters bring you joy. She produced an exquisite brocade box from her storage spirit tool and handed it to him. Yu Qing opened it to find a pale blue gem, about the size of a dove's egg, exuding gentle, pure energy that refreshed the soul. Oh, what is it? He asked, curiosity piqued. It's called Warm Spirit Jade, unique to our 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, Ning Fengya explained. Worn long-term, it subtly warms and strengthens the meridians, stabilizes the foundation, and can even improve innate soul power aptitude. Even inside the school, only direct bloodline members or highly valued core disciples receive one, and disciples usually must return it upon leaving or advancing. Her calm tone only emphasized the gem's rarity. Yu Qing's eyes showed genuine surprise. He knew how priceless anything that could raise innate soul power was, far more valuable than an ordinary 10,000-year spirit bone. For Ning Fengya to give such a treasure spoke volumes. Sister-in-law Fengya, he said, turning serious, this gift is too precious. Thank you on behalf of Yuer and Binger. She simply smiled. It's an honor to offer something for you and the children. Looking at her gentle profile, Yu Qing felt a small stir. He turned to Dugubo, who was chatting nearby, and murmured, Old poison. Are you and sister-in-law thinking of having one too? Dugubo, mid-sip, nearly sprayed his wine. His face blushed scarlet. He glared, mortified. You, impudent rascal, utter nonsense. This old man has self-control, unlike you. Children, we'll talk later. Dragging the equally blushing Ning Fengya, he fled to the far side of the banquet. Yu Qing shook his head, amused. The old fellow's shy now. Mid-celebration, a tall, dust-streaked figure hurried in with 6 formidable spirit masters. Feng Lingyin returned from recruiting for the Guardian Court. Your subordinate Feng Lingyin greets the sect master. She knelt before Yu Qing. I succeeded. 6 spirit emperors have joined the Guardian Court. Delight flashed in Yu Qing's eyes. In barely 3 months, she had brought in 6 spirit emperors. No small achievement. Excellent, he said, nodding with satisfaction. He surveyed the 6 spirit emperors behind Feng Lingyin. Though measured, their gazes were sharp. As he spoke, a pitch-black rhomboid crystal pulsed into his palm, radiating an energy that quickened the heart. It was the system reward, a soul power crystal, black, powerful even for spirit emperors or spirit Douluo. Take this soul power crystal as your reward for this mission, Yu Qing told Feng Lingyin. I hope it helps you reach a higher realm soon. Feng Lingyin's eyes lit up at once. She had heard from Purple Pearl how strong such crystals were. The wind attribute spirit bone Yu Qing had given her earlier had already boosted her strength considerably. With this soul power crystal added, she was confident she could break through another level or 2. Many thanks for the sect master's generous gift. She accepted the crystal with trembling hands, excitement in her voice. This subordinate will do everything possible to recruit more talent for your excellency and for the Yin-Yang sect. The lively birthday banquet lasted until nightfall before finally winding down. After seeing off the last guests, Yu Qing, slightly tipsy, returned to the room where the Shui sisters were. On the bed, the 2 infants lay side by side, fast asleep. Beside them sat their mothers, faces glowing with happiness. He sat gently on the edge of the bed and with a careful finger touched his daughter's soft hands, his eyes full of tenderness. Yuer, Binger, he whispered. Daddy will give you the very best of everything. Meanwhile, at the 7 treasure glazed tile school outside Heavendo City, the sect master's study was brightly lit. Having finished the day's affairs, Ning Fengji rubbed his tired brow and looked toward the shadowy corner of the room. Uncle Gu, still no word of Yair these days. At his words, the shadows twisted oddly, and a tall, gaunt man in black, like a giant skeleton draped in skin, appeared without a sound. His face was cold, his eyes like unthawing ice, and an aura chilled the room. He was one of the sect's 2 guardian Douluo, Bone Douluo, Gu Rong. Fengji. Bone Douluo shook his head slowly, his hoarse voice low. The disciples we sent have combed Heavendu City and the surrounding provinces. Still no solid clues to Fengya's whereabouts. That girl. Ning Fengji sighed deeply, worry and helplessness showing on his face. Where on earth has she run off to this time? A cold snort came from outside the window, and a figure in snow-white robes, straight as a blade, glided into the study. Sword Douluo, Chen Xin. It's all your fault. Chen Xin glared at Ning Fengji. You insisted on forcing her to marry that elder Lin. If not for that decision, would the child have run away without a word? Embarrassment and regret crossed Ning Fengji's face, but he protested. I only wanted what's best for her. Elder Lin is steady and honest, already a spirit saint. Breaking through to Spirit Douluo is only a matter of time. I'm her brother. Would I ever harm her? What's best for her? Chen Jin sneered. You mean what's best for the sect's development. That girl Fengya seems gentle, but inside she's steel. She has her own mind. Try to chain her with a marriage and of course she'll run. All right, Bone Douluo intervened. Arguing now is pointless. The urgent thing is to find Fengya. I'll send more people and widen the search. He fixed Ning Fengji with a warning look. But Fengji, if we bring her back this time, you mustn't force her like last time. Otherwise, if she runs off again, or something worse happens, you'll have nowhere to cry. Ning Fengji's smile turned bitter, and he nodded. Uncle Gu, I understand. This time, if we find her, I won't force her. At that moment, a hurried knock broke the heavy atmosphere. Enter, Ning Fengji called, composing himself. A young man in the school's robes stepped in, bowed respectfully to the 3 most powerful men of the sect, and spoke urgently. Sect Master, Your Excellencies, Platinum Bishop Solace of Spirit Hall's Heaven Dao Sacred Hall has arrived unannounced, saying he has important business to discuss with the Sect Master. Ning Fengji frowned. Solace? He exchanged puzzled glances with Bone Douluo and Sword Douluo. What brings him here so late? Show him to the reception hall. I'll come at once. Moments later, in the sect's reception hall, Ning Fengji, flanked by sword and bone Douluo, met the tall, thin old man in ornate platinum bishop robes, Solace, whose face wore a shrewd, sly smile. Platinum Bishop Solace, a late-night visit. Ningfengji offered a courteous, practiced smile. What important matter brings you here? Solace inclined his head slightly, an odd smile creeping across his face. He spoke with deliberate gravity. Sectmaster Ning, Your Excellency's sword and bone, I come bearing orders from His Holiness the Pope to convey an important message to your esteemed sect. He paused for effect, then continued slowly. His Holiness has decided, in half a year he will formally abdicate in favor of his personal disciple. At that time, the coronation of the new Supreme Pontiff will be held. His Holiness has commanded me to bring your sect his sincerest invitation. He produced an ornate scroll edged in gold and faintly shimmering with soul power and offered it to Ningfengji. He hopes Sectmaster Ning and Your Excellency's sword and bone will attend and witness this historic moment. The words struck like thunder. Ningfengji, Chen Xin, and Gu Rong were stunned, shock written across their faces. The Supreme Pontiff abdicating? The news was earth-shattering, enough to send reverberations through the entire Spirit Master world. 125. The ambition of the Yin-Yang sect. Everyone present knew how ambitious the current Supreme Pontiff, Qianshunji, was, and that his hold over Spirit Hall was the strongest any Supreme Pontiff had ever had. The idea that he would willingly abdicate seemed impossible. Still, after a moment of stunned silence, they calmed and accepted the invitation Solace handed them. Please rest assured, Bishop, we will be there, Ningfengji said. Solace nodded. With the new Supreme Pontiff ascending, the 7 great sects will inevitably be reevaluated. At that time, I hope Schoolmaster Ning will bring enough disciples to participate. Good, Ningfengji replied. I won't stay. I must go to the Clear Sky sect next. Solace bowed and prepared to leave. After he left, the atmosphere in the hall turned even heavier. The news Solace brought was like a boulder dropped into a still lake, setting off violent waves in the hearts of the 3 senior leaders of the 7 treasure-glazed tile school. The Supreme Pontiff abdicating, alone that would have rocked the Spirit Master world. A re-evaluation of the 7 great sects, likewise earth-shaking. Both at once meant the balance on the continent was about to shift drastically. Ningfengji broke the silence first. He rubbed his throbbing temples and, still bewildered, said, Uncle Sword, Uncle Bone, what do you think Qianshunji is planning? He's notoriously power-hungry, and his control over Spirit Hall has been unrivaled, Bone Douluo Gu Rong said, his cold, skull-like face creasing with doubt. How could a man like that willingly give up power? Sword Douluo Chenxin, who had been silent until now, knit his brows and spoke slowly. Perhaps this isn't Qianshunji's original decision. Perhaps he's being pressured by someone he absolutely cannot defy. Who? Bone Douluo snapped, turning to him. Speak! Chen Xin's voice dropped to an almost reverent hush. Angel Douluo Qiandaoliu. Their reaction was instantaneous. Qiandaoliu? Ningfengji and Bone Douluo said together, stunned. Qiandaoliu, the High Priest of Spirit Hall, a level 99 Super Douluo, famed as invincible in the sky, was one of the continent's true peak power figures. His prestige alone could cow entire forces. Ningfengji's voice went dry. If he intervened, then everything starts to make sense. But why would Qiandaoliu force his own son to step down now? Bone Douluo still couldn't fathom it. Chen Xin's eyes darkened. There's another detail that makes this strange. There are 2 iron rules for the succession of Spirit Hall's Supreme Pontiffs. First, the successor must be a titled Douluo. Second, the successor must be from the Qian family or have an extremely close connection to it. He paused, lowering his tone. Qianshunji's famous disciple, she should be about 35 this year, right? What do you mean? Bone Douluo's pupils narrowed, horror crossing his face. You mean Bibi Dong, Qianshunji's female disciple? She's already a titled Douluo, Ningfengji blurted. A 35-year-old titled Douluo? Bone Douluo and Ningfengji were incredulous. Reaching titled Douluo before 50 was a rare, century-defining talent. At 35, it was almost unheard of, an ability that defied their understanding of Spirit Master cultivation speed. All 3 sat beneath the weight of the news. A new Supreme Pontiff so young and so talented, backed by Spirit Hall's vast resources, would reshape the continent's future in unpredictable ways. The shock wasn't limited to the three highest authorities: the Clear Sky Sect, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, the lower four sects, and other major forces all received formal notices from Spirit Hall, and the entire Spirit Master world began to stir. Late that night, in the Heaven-Dew Empire Imperial Palace, Emperor Shuiye called Prince Shuixing and trusted ministers into an emergency conference. The transfer of power at Spirit Hall and the re-evaluation of the seven great sects was a matter of imperial concern. "Your Majesty," an old minister warned, "we must send an appropriately important envoy to the ceremony when the new Supreme Pontiff ascends. Otherwise, it will look bad for the Empire and could offend Spirit Hall." Emperor Shuiye nodded gravely. "Indeed, but right now, in terms of high-end combat strength, the only one who can properly represent us is Douluo Bo." He looked at his younger brother. "Shuixing, you must personally invite His Excellency Douluo." Shuixing's face clouded. He knew Douluo Bo's eccentric, unpredictable temper and how much the poisoned Douluo disliked official trappings. Still, faced with the imperial command, he could only bow and assent. The next day, Shuixing hurried to Douluo Bo's mansion, found it empty, and after asking around, located Douluo Bo in the Sunset Forest, calmly tending a pack of highly poisonous spirit beasts. Shuixing fell into a fawning explanation about the Emperor's request. Douluo Bo barely blinked and rolled his eyes. "Why are you telling me this? I'm not interested in such troublesome matters." Shuixing, desperate, abandoned all princely dignity. He grabbed Douluo Bo's leg and clung to it, tears in his eyes. "Your Excellency Poison, Grandpa Poison, you're the Empire's only titled Douluo. If you don't go, our Empire will lose face in front of Spirit Hall and the Star Luo Empire. Please, agree." Douluo Bo squirmed and tried to push him away. "Get off! What kind of behavior is this?" "I won't let go," Shuixing retorted, tightening his grip. "Unless you promise me." After a long sigh and much annoyance at the prince's persistence, Douluo Bo finally relented. "Fine, I'll go," he said, but added with a scowl, "This will count as one of the three conditions you promised me before." Shuixing's face lit up instantly. Yes, anything, I accept." That evening, Douluo Bo returned to the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang well and told Yu Qing the story as an amusing anecdote. He nudged Yu Qing's shoulder with a grin. "Guess what? Old man Shuiye actually wants me to attend the new Supreme Pontiff's enthronement ceremony. Says it's a matter of the Empire's face." Yu Qing paused, the child in his arms momentarily still in his teasing. A strange light flickered in his eyes. "Bibi Dong is finally ascending," he murmured, a knowing smile on his lips. A plan was forming. Qian Shunji would be crushed by Tang Hao, then swallowed up by the disciple he had nurtured, he thought, amused by the melodrama. Douluo Bo, watching him, asked, "Hey, Madman Ye, what are you thinking? Are you interested in the ceremony?" Yu Qing's smile turned bright and confident. "Interested? Very. But we won't only attend the ceremony. We'll take part in the even more important re-election of the seven great sects." He stood straighter. "It's time for our Yin-Yang sect to show its strength." Douluo Bo laughed. "You've got ambition, kid. You aiming for the title of continent's #1 sect?" "Why not?" Yu Qing's confidence was evident. The Yin-Yang sect already has three powerful titled Douluo, me, Aru, and Douluo Bo. We have top-tier power at every level: Spirit Douluo, Spirit Saint, Spirit Emperor. Except for having fewer adherents than some old sects, in terms of high-end combat power and potential, we're not inferior to anyone. Why shouldn't we contend for #1? Douluo Bo clapped him on the shoulder. "Well said. If we can push that arrogant old Clear Sky sect down a peg, I'll support it with everything I've got." He then reminded Yu Qing of the rules. According to past practice, there's a limit to number of disciples who can participate in the seven great sects evaluation, usually no more than 10. The format is special. Group battles that combine the sect master and high-end combatants, core strength, and the young generation. The final rankings are decided by wins and losses. Yu Qing's eyes gleamed. "Perfect. A contest of top power and elite quality. That's tailor-made for us. I have confidence we can go undefeated and seize the continent's #1 sect." Douluo Bo slapped his thigh in approval. "Then let's prepare. When the time comes, we'll give every spirit master on the continent a huge surprise." Old and young exchanged determined smiles, their eyes burning with battle intent. Chapter 126, Prepare for War. the 7 great sects, Reselect, and the Spies of Holy Soul Village. The news that Spirit Hall would soon hold the coronation of the new Supreme Pontiff and take the occasion to reselect the 7 great sects spread across the continent like a gale, reaching every corner of the Spirit Master's world in a matter of days. When Qing heard this from Douluo, he made his decision almost immediately. The Yin-Yang sect had to take part, and their target was clear: the throne of sect number 1 under heaven. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He rubbed his hands, excited as a hunter who had just sighted perfect prey. He began to run through names in his head, assembling the team that would represent the Yin-Yang sect. As sect leader, he had to go personally, both to display the sect's strength and to demonstrate attitude and responsibility. For top-tier combatants, Aru, a level 96 Super Douluo, and Douluo, a titled Douluo with superb poison techniques, were obvious choices. With those two, any peak duel could be handled. At the Spirit Douluo level, the sect's only candidate was the newly joined Feng Lingyan, who would be indispensable. For Spirit Saint and Spirit Emperor positions, Zirui, Duanshin, and Purple Pearl had the strength and experience required. For the younger generation's representatives, Qing chose his 2 named disciples without hesitation, sisters Ling Xin and Ling Mo. Both possessed outstanding talent and solid foundations. After recent cultivation, they had become leaders among the young. He looked down at the 9 names on the paper and nodded in satisfaction. Sect leader, 2 titled Douluos, 1 Spirit Douluo, 2 Spirit Saints, 1 Spirit Emperor, and 2 Spirit Kings. Balanced, layered. This lineup can stand up to any challenge under the rules. Taking sect number 1 isn't a pipe dream. He called everyone on the list to the meeting hall and announced his plan. Excitement and agitation showed on their faces when they learned they would represent the Yin-Yang sect. Duanshin and the sisters Ling Xin and Ling Mu visibly buzzed with anticipation. Douluo, however, hesitated. He scratched his head and spoke with some embarrassment. "Madman Ye, I need to tell you something. Old Shui Ye asked me to represent the Heaven Du Empire at the observation ceremony as well. You see, appearing for both sides at once might cause trouble or misunderstandings." His concern was valid. One side was the imperial family, the other a rising sect. His identity was sensitive. Qing didn't lose his temper. He thought for a moment, then smiled. "That's fine. Old Poison," he said, using Douluo's old nickname, "you can go as the Heaven Du Empire's representative. On our side, Aru and I, 2 titled Douluos, are enough. Historically, sect duels don't always require every top fighter to appear. Go as the Empire's envoy. Don't worry about us." Douluo was moved by his reasonableness. He clapped Qing's shoulder and apologized. "Sorry, kid, I won't be able to fight by your side this time." Qing waved him off. "We're family. No need for formality. Your presence as the Empire's representative might be good for our sect in the long run." Qing turned to Duanshin. She straightened so quickly she looked like a child called on by a teacher. Husband, can I compete in the Spirit Douluo level duels when the time comes?" Her tone crackled with eager anticipation. Qing laughed. "Of course you can." Then his tone shifted, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "But can't you absorb your 8th spirit ring and advance to Spirit Douluo already?" Duanshin shook her head vigorously, a playful smile on her face. "No, I won't absorb the 8th ring yet. I want to challenge Spirit Douluos as a Spirit Saint. I want to shock the continent with a cross-realm challenge. Let everyone see that even as a Spirit Saint, I can crush Spirit Douluos." She brandished a fist that shimmered with red jade dragon scales. "My dragon claws are starving." Qing felt pride and affection swell up. "Good, then it shall be as you wish. When the time comes, you'll enter the Spirit Douluo duels as a Spirit Saint. Let them see the leapfrog strength of the Yin-Yang sect." He looked to the quiet sisters Ling Xin and Ling Mu. "Ling Xin, Ling Mu." "Present, sect leader," they replied in unison, standing like spears. "There are about 6 months before the reselection," Qing said seriously. "Are you confident you can break through to Spirit King in that time?" "Yes," they answered together, clear and firm, full of confidence. Pleased, Qing produced 2 left leg bones that shimmered with dense energy, top-quality spirit bones cultivated for 90,000 years. One carried a poison attribute, the other a strength attribute, perfect for the sisters' spirits. Take these and absorb them as soon as possible. They'll significantly increase your strength and shorten your path to Spirit King. Thank you, sect leader. The sisters held the spirit bones like precious treasures. They understood these bones were priceless and a heavy trust from their leader. For Zirui and Purple Pearl, Yu Qing gave fewer instructions. One was at the peak of Spirit Emperor and the other at the peak of Spirit Saint. Winning a string of Spirit Saint matches would not trouble them. When everything was arranged, Dugubo eyed the roster, almost entirely Yu Qing's inner circle, and grinned, nudging Yu Qing's elbow. Hey, Madman Ye, how'd you turn a sect competition into a family mobilization? When everyone's on the arena, half of them will be your wives. Just picturing it is amusing. Feng Lingyan's pretty face flushed crimson. She hurried to wave her hands. Old poison, don't talk nonsense. I'm not one of them, she stammered. Dugubo's smile widened. Hey, not now doesn't mean not later. With our sect leader Yi's charm and talents, you'll be part of the family sooner or later. Feng Lingyan wanted to crawl into a hole. Around her, Yu Qing's other wives turned to stare with knowing, playful smiles, as if appraising whether the new spirit Douluo would make a suitable sister. Feng Lingyan's heart raced. She stole a glance at the calm Yu Qing and felt an unexpected flutter. The ice and fire yin-yang jeshing. Well entered a state of intense, orderly preparation. The chosen members threw themselves into special training. Yu Qing tailored targeted programs based on the detailed intelligence Ning Fengye had provided about other major sects, their spirits, spirit ring configurations, combat styles, weaknesses. He poured rare sect resources into everyone's cultivation, sparing nothing to lift their strength as quickly as possible. A month passed like a blink. The improvement from the training was dramatic. Every participant was at least twice as strong as before. Ling Xin and Ling Mao, after absorbing those 90,000-year spirit bones, leapt forward. They were one thin veil away from breaking into the Spirit King realm. At this rate, they'd reach Spirit King within half a year. Yu Qing himself seemed the most relaxed. Besides guiding cultivation, he spent much of his time enjoying yin-yang harmonization with his wives. Since they were busy cultivating, their demands were easier to manage. Meanwhile, the sisters Shui Wuyue and Shui Wuxiang, after giving birth and recovering, threw themselves into cultivation to make up lost ground. Through yin-yang conjunction dual cultivation with everyone, their spirit power rose startlingly. Shui Wuxiang surged to level 60 and only needed a fitting spirit ring to become a spirit emperor. Shui Wuyue reached level 58 and was close behind. One night, after a satisfying session in Ah Yin's room, Yu Qing did not go straight to bed. Instead, he slipped down to an underground meditation chamber he had carved deep in the yin-yang well. The room was quiet and empty, lit by a few spirit-guiding lamps embedded in the walls. He sat cross-legged on a prayer mat and closed his eyes, drawing a deep breath to settle his mind. Moments later, he opened his eyes. A brilliant silver light flashed within them. He raised his right hand and tapped his forehead with his index finger. A powerful, pure surge of mental force poured from him like a tide, gathering and solidifying in front of him until it formed a translucent figure almost identical to his own. The apparition had clear features, vivid expressions, even lifelike folds in its clothes, an illusory but convincing twin surging with mental fluctuations. Soul incarnation, major achievement. Yu Qing felt satisfaction as he extracted a tiny thread of soul power, part of his consciousness and memory, from his soul origin and injected it into the incarnation. The figure's eyes brightened as if given true life. Main body, the incarnation said with a slight bow in a voice indistinguishable from Yu Qing's. What are your orders? Yu Qing regarded it calmly. Depart immediately for a small place called Holy Soul Village in Fasano Province. Find a quiet spot and live in seclusion. Wait patiently for a man named Tang Hao to arrive with his son. Observe every move of father and son carefully. Transmit your observations to me through the soul link each month. Yes, main body, the incarnation answered without hesitation. Understood. Go, Yu Qing said, waving his hand. Hide well. Do not let anyone discover you. The incarnation bowed once more, then turned into a faint wisp of green smoke that melted into the air and disappeared. The meditation room was silent again. Yu Qing sat for a long moment, his gaze piercing the layers of earth as if looking toward the distant south. A mysterious smile touched his lips. Tang Hao, Tang San, he murmured to himself. The story is finally beginning, isn't it? 127. Water without fragrance, water without moon breakthrough. Time passed quietly, and before they knew it, only 4 months remained until the 7 Great Sects re-election assembly. Within the ice and fire yin-yang, preparations grew increasingly intense. Every chosen participant was pushing their training into a final sprint. The sole incarnation, Qing, who had been sent to Saint Spirit Village, had long since settled in. The incarnation had taken on the guise of an ordinary hunter, living quietly while keeping an eye on the little village, waiting for Tang Hao and his son to arrive. Qing paid little attention to the incarnation's reports about the villagers' mundane affairs. Without Tang San and Tang Hao, Saint Spirit Village was nothing more than a remote backwater. His focus was on his sisters, Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue. They were at the crucial stage of breaking into the Spirit King realm. There was no room for slackening. Qing personally guided them through the Thousand Refinements Method and their spirit power cultivation almost every day. Recently, through ongoing dual cultivation of the yin-yang conjunction with everyone, Shui Wuyue had finally broken through the rank 60 bottleneck. Following her sister, she was now approaching the point where she would need a 6th soul ring. For the whole yin-yang sect, it was another cause for celebration. Under Qing's direction, the sisters were led down to the underground meditation chamber deep within the ice and fire yin-yang well, a place he had prepared with meticulous care. Wuxiang, Wuyue. Qing looked at the 2 sisters, each beautiful in her own way, and a gentle smile touched his lips. Are you ready? We're ready, husband. The 2 answered in unison, eyes bright with expectation. Qing nodded. With a flick of his wrist, 2 black crystals that hummed with potent energy appeared in his hand. One radiated an extreme chill, as if it would freeze the very air. The other pulsed with sweeping water element fluctuations, like a condensed ocean. Most astonishingly, within the cores of those crystals faint phantoms could be seen, a phoenix spreading its wings. This is? Shi Wuxiang stared at the crystals, wide-eyed. Spirit rings? But how is this possible? Spirit rings without hunting spirit beasts? Shi Wuyue covered her mouth, disbelief written across her face. Qing smiled slightly. These are origin soul rings, I condensed by special means. They're about 35,000 years old, and a trace of phoenix power has been fused into them. After absorption, not only will your spirit power get a massive increase, but more important, they can purify your spirits and push their evolution toward a true phoenix martial soul. The sisters were stunned into silence. Obtaining soul rings without hunting spirit beasts overturned their understanding of the Spirit Master system. And the idea that these rings could trigger spirit evolution, it felt like a miracle. Still, given Qing's endless repertoire of mysterious methods and the whispers among the other sisters about his status as a god's successor, their astonishment slowly gave way to an almost resigned trust. Thank you, husband. They took the rings eagerly and sat down to absorb them at once. The process was exceptionally smooth. With Qing personally acting as their protector and the rings themselves perfectly compatible, the sisters absorbed the origin soul rings almost effortlessly. A powerful surge of spirit power burst through them. Their ranks shot up to rank 62 in an instant. Even more noticeably, their spirits made a qualitative leap. The phantoms of the Ice Phoenix and Water Phoenix became clearer, nobler, and the bloodline pressure they emitted was far stronger than before. That night, to celebrate their promotion to Spirit Emperor, Qing naturally rewarded them generously. After an extended session of yin-yang harmonization, the sisters curled up in his arms like contented kittens, one on each side, basking in warmth. Husband. Shu Wei traced slow circles on Qing's chest with a fingertip. We want to go back to the Shui family. Homesick? Qing asked, looking down at her. She nodded. We've been away a long time, and we have children now. I want them to meet the family. Of course, Qing said without hesitation. I'll go with you. Really? That's great. Shui Wei beamed and planted a kiss on his cheek. From the side, the cooler-natured Shui Wuxiang spoke softly. Should we bring Yuer and Binger? Of course, Qing laughed. Isn't it only right for their grandparents to see their granddaughters? Shui Wuxiang's face clouded. Our Shui family is strict. They treat premarital pregnancy and illegitimate children as stains on the family. The clan rules are severe. If we just bring the children back suddenly, I'm afraid they wouldn't dare. Before she finished, Yu Qing's brows shot up and an invisible pressure of dominance radiated from him. Those are my daughters. Let anyone so much as lay a finger on a hair of theirs, and I'll tear them apart. Not even your entire Shui family could touch them. At his protective fierceness, Shui Wuxiang's worry melted away. A warm sense of safety and sweetness filled her. Shui Wuwei raised her chin proudly. See, sister, with husband here, we don't need to worry about those petty clan rules. He'll protect us and the children. Shui Wuxiang couldn't help but laugh and shake her head fondly. I can't do anything about you. All right, she made up her mind. If we go back this time, we'll bring the children. Heh, that's more like it. Shui Wuwei hugged Yu Qing's arm and looked up at him with misty, inviting eyes. Husband, it's still early, Yu Qing murmured, glancing at the two beautiful sisters in his embrace and feeling his heart stir at Shui Wuwei's advances. Heh, you little vixen! As you wish. With that, they indulged in another long, intimate embrace, the details of which need no telling here. The next morning, refreshed, Yu Qing held the hands of the radiant Shui Wuwei and Shui Wuxiang while he told his other wives about their plan to return to the Shui family. Returning to the Shui family? Aru nodded gently. That's good. Sisters Wu Yue have been away so long, it's time they went home for a visit. But husband, she added, pausing, there are only 4 months left until the reselection of the 7 great sects. You must go and return quickly. Don't worry, Aru. Yu Qing smiled confidently. With spatial traverse, a round trip will take at most 2 months. That's good. Zirui stepped forward, tidying his collar and speaking softly. Husband, have a safe journey. Come back soon. All right? Yu Qing nodded and kissed each of the women lightly on the forehead. I'll leave the house in your hands. After saying goodbye, Yu Qing took his 2 daughters in one arm and held Shui Wuyue and Shui Wuxiang's hands with the other. With a flash, they left the ice and fire yin-yang well. In the next moment, they were hundreds of miles away in the sky. Guided by Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue as living maps, Yu Qing's use of spatial traverse became even more precise. He teleported continuously, needing no pauses, and in half a month, they had crossed more than half the Heaven Do Empire, arriving at the northernmost border province near the far north ice field. The farther north they traveled, the colder it grew. Even in midsummer, a bone-deep chill hung in the air, and patches of unmelted snow dotted the landscape. When a magnificent city, seeming carved from ice and stone, rose at the edge of the horizon, Yu Qing could not help but exclaim in wonder. Tianshui City, the Pearl of the North, the most prosperous and important city in the Northern Empire. Despite the harsh climate, its unique position and the renowned Tianshui Academy gave it a life and energy all its own. Streets bustled with people and carts, buildings with northern character stood in tidy rows. It was vibrantly alive in a way Heaven Do City or Star Luo City were not. This is Tianshui City. Shui Wuxiang pointed, and her voice carried a note of nostalgia and pride. It's the foundation of our Shui family. As expected, Yu Qing said, nodding. Let's go in. Because Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue were well known in the city, the gate guards greeted them with respect. The group moved directly toward the Shui family's estate at the city center. The estate covered a vast area. Its architecture blended with the city, grand and imposing yet refined and elegant. Guards in uniform stood at attention, their auras strong. When one gate guard caught sight of the 2 young women, disbelief crossed his face. He rubbed his eyes, convinced he had misseen, then bolted through the gate and into the compound, shouting breathlessly as he ran. They're back! They've returned! Eldest young miss! Second young miss! His shout rippled through the estate like a stone thrown into a still pond. Footsteps sounded everywhere. Then a flood of women in colorful dresses poured out of the main gate, swarming around Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue. Sister Wuxiang! Sister Wuyue! Is it really you? You've finally come back. Where have you been these past 2 years? We were so worried. And who is this young master? Voices rose in a noisy chorus of concern and excitement. Standing to the side, Yu Qing let his gaze sweep over the sudden crowd. The Shui family's genes were obvious, Dozens of women, young and mature, were uniformly graceful and striking. Their figures and postures were polished and poised. It was, he admitted inwardly, an eye-catching sight. Still, he appreciated them from a distance. His wives were waiting for him at home, and he did not wish to make any trouble here. The party was escorted into the Shui family reception hall. At the main table sat the family's leadership. At its head was a woman in an ice-blue gown with an elegant, noble bearing. Her features resembled the Shui sisters, 70 or 80% the same. She was the current head of the Shui family, Shui Xinhen, the sister's biological aunt. When Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue stepped into the center of the hall carrying the infants, the room went utterly silent. Every gaze fixed on the children, faces shifting to shock and disbelief. Wuxiang, Wuyue. Shui Xinhen rose slowly, her eyes sharp as blades as they settled on the infants. Her voice trembled with a restrained edge. These two children are. Shui Wuxiang took a steadying breath and stepped forward. Her voice was calm and resolute. Family head, these are our daughters. Shui Wuyue added, this one is Yuer, and this one is Yu Binger. The declaration hit like an explosion. Chaos erupted. What? Daughters? They gave birth without permission. Outrageous. Outrageous. Our Shui family's reputation, this is a disgrace. Family head, this must not go unpunished. The family law must be enforced to warn others. The elders bristled with righteous indignation and pointed at the sisters as if they had committed a grave crime. Shui Xinen's face darkened. She slammed her hand down on the table so hard the room fell silent. Good, good, good. She said each good like a bitter oath, anger barely contained. Shui Wuxiang, Shui Wuyue, it seems I have been far too indulgent with you. You've become so bold as to utterly ignore the clan rules. She barked in order. Seize them. Bring them to face family law. Several Shui family guards with powerful auras stepped forward to apprehend the sisters. Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue, however, remained unnervingly composed. Just as the guards reached for them, both women unleashed a sudden eruption of spirit power, cold and vast as ocean vapor. Two majestic phoenix phantoms rose into the air, one ice blue like jade, the other sea azure. A heart-stopping bloodline pressure radiated from them. 6 brilliant spirit rings, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, black, rose from beneath their feet and orbited them in a steady rhythm, releasing overwhelming aura. Spirit Emperor. A 6-ring Spirit Emperor. When did they reach Spirit Emperor? And that spirit pressure. The sudden, immense power and the terrifying force at the source of their bloodlines made every Shui clan member in the hall, including elders whose power reached Spirit Emperor, feel lightheaded and suffocated. Their spirits trembled, as if compelled to bow to the Phoenix Phantoms. The guards who had moved to seize them were thrown back by the force, faces struck with horror. Shui Wuxiang calmly scanned the stunned assembly and then fixed her gaze on the family head. Her voice was cool, but carried an undeniable authority. Family head, elders, this is the explanation my sister and I offer. She paused for a beat, then asked plainly, is this explanation sufficient? Silence fell so heavy it could be felt. Everyone stood frozen, trying to make sense of what they had just witnessed. Two young women in their 20s who had suddenly revealed 6-ring spirit emperors, and not just any power, but their bloodline had awakened in a way that suggested an extraordinary future. If these two were truly rising, the Shui family could soon produce 2 top-tier powerhouses, titled Douluo level. For a clan, that was immeasurable fortune. Compared to that, what was a matter of staining the family reputation? Shui Xinen's expression changed instantly. The fury drained away and was replaced by an ecstatic, almost disbelieving smile. She slapped her hand against her chest with a sharp slap that made Yu Qing glance over. Ha ha! Good! Good! Shui Xinen laughed, relief and excitement bubbling over. To hell with forced political marriages. To hell with clan rules. With Wuxiang and Wuyue, how could our Shui family fail to rise? Soon our clan will produce 2 spirit Douluos, no, 2 titled Douluos. This is the greatest blessing for our Shui family. Her words won instant approval from most of the clansmen present. Shock and anger gave way to unrestrained joy and excitement. People swarmed around the Shui Wuxiang sisters, chattering and asking about their experiences and how they'd become so powerful. At that moment, Shui Wuyue quietly pinched Yu Qing's waist hard with her small hand, and in a voice only the two of them could hear, whispered a warning. "Hey, you big pervert! I can tolerate you adding more sisters for us," she hissed, "but Aunt Matriarch is absolutely off limits. Do you hear me?" Yu Qing stood caught between laughter and embarrassment. In a low voice, he hurried to explain. "Little Yue Wei, where are your thoughts going? Your husband isn't the kind of shallow man who loses his head at the sight of a pretty face." Shui Wei gave a satisfied snort. "Humph, that's better." Shui Xinhen, the Shui family matriarch, finally shifted her gaze from the sisters to Yu Qing, who had been standing quietly to the side tending the children. A flash of curiosity and appraisal passed through her eyes. "Wu Xiang, Wu Yue," she asked with a smile, "who is this young master?" Her question, delivered with the searching tone of the family head, fell over the hall like a stone into still water, stirring everyone's attention toward Yu Qing. Under that almost probing gaze, Shui Wei puffed out her already promising chest and, pride plain on her face, spoke first. "Aunt Matriarch, he is the husband sister and I chose together. Yu Qing." "What? He is your husband?" Even those who had suspected it were stunned to hear it confirmed openly. Eyes full of disbelief, curiosity, scrutiny, and even hostility focused on Yu Qing. Shui Shinin narrowed her eyes and examined him as if trying to see right through him. Her tone sharpened. "Oh, then what merits does he have? To think the two greatest pearls of our Shui family would lower themselves to share a husband." The question struck at the heart of everyone's doubts. A faint smile touched Yu Qing's lips, but he didn't answer immediately. He stepped forward slowly, each step composed, and an invisible aura quietly spread out. The noisy hall fell so silent a pin could have been heard. He met Shui Xinhen's gaze with calm resolve and said evenly, "I am Yu Qing. I am untalented, a titled Douluo." The words landed like a thunderclap. Titled Douluo?" He said, "What? Impossible. So young and already a titled Douluo?" Before anyone had finished processing the revelation, a terrifying pressure, vast as the sea and immovable as a mountain, suddenly burst from Yu Qing and rolled through the hall. Circles of spirit rings rose from under his feet like dragons waking. Purple, purple, black, 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 red, red, red. 9 spirit rings, 2 purple, 4 black, 3 blood red, glowed into being. The 3 blood red rings blazed with an eerie, noble crimson that seemed to dye the whole hall. Those blood-red rings carried the light of hundreds of thousands of years, not 1, but 3 of them. The configuration and the crushing pressure were beyond conventional understanding. The oppressive weight made it hard to breathe. People gaped in horror and awe. Hearts raced. Some elders with weaker cultivation felt their knees go soft, nearly collapsing. "This is the husband we chose," Shui Wuxiang said coolly, the hint of her pride and triumph unmistakable as she swept her gaze over the stunned clansmen as if to say, "See? This is our standard." Shui Xinhen looked at the 3 blood-red rings circling Yu Qing and went pale. Cold sweat beaded on her forehead. Her voice trembled with shock and reverence. "Your Excellency," she blurted, hurriedly bowing, suddenly deferential and panicked. "We were blind and have offended you. Please, withdraw your pressure and your spirit rings." Yu Qing glanced at her, and at the thought the terrifying aura and dazzling spirit rings vanished as if they had never existed. The suffocating pressure disappeared, and a collective sigh of relief swept the hall like surf retreating from the shore. People still looked at him with lingering fear and profound awe, but Yu Qing treated the whole display as a triviality. He returned to playing with the 2 garrulous daughters in his arms, as if the titled Douluo who had just cowed the room were a different person. His casual demeanor only made the Shui family see him as more unfathomable. A loud-mouthed elder, barely able to contain her excitement, spread the news. Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue's husband was a young, titled Douluo with 3 300,000-year spirit rings. The rumor flew through the Shui family like wildfire. The clan erupted. A titled Douluo, and so young. 3 300,000-year spirit rings? How is that possible? Sister Wuxiang and Sister Wuyue, amazing to have found such a husband. If only I could marry a titled Douluo someday. Envy, jealousy, disbelief, and longing tangled through the hearts of the Shui family women. Those who fancied themselves close to the Shui Wuxiang sisters could not contain their excitement and began knocking on their door in droves. "Sister Wuxiang, Sister Wuyue, A pretty girl tugged at Shui Wui's hand and pleaded in a hushed voice, "Can you put in a word with His Excellency Yu Qing? Ask him to take me in too. I'll even be a concubine." "Me too," another striking beauty chimed, leaning forward. "I'll serve tea and fetch water for you, sisters. Please help me out. We just want to bask in the glory." 130. Passionate Shui girls faced with clanswomen whose enthusiasm bordered on excessive, Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue exchanged a wry smile, both remembering how Zirui and Duan Xin had once conned them into joining that big family. What goes around comes around. Still, the two refused to let matchmaking fervor cloud their judgment and put on stern, businesslike faces. "Ahem." Shui Wuyue cleared her throat and adopted a perfectly serious tone. "It's not impossible to join, but we do have strict new sister criteria. First, looks must pass muster." She swept her gaze over the curvaceous array of clanswomen. The Shui bloodline always scored highly in that regard. Second, talent and spirit power cultivation can't be too shabby. She began to scrutinize their spirit force ripples. Lastly, character and temperament will undergo rigorous vetting. Following the yin-yang sect's unspoken but well-understood admission standards, the two sisters began a stringent screening of the volunteers. The results were disappointing. Apart from universally acceptable looks, most clanswomen's aptitudes and spirit power were merely mediocre, far below the bar they had in mind. In the end, they could only decline the requests tactfully. "Sorry, sisters," Shui Wuxiang said coolly. "My husband sets rather high standards for a sister's aptitude. At present, none of you quite reach it. Still, you can cultivate diligently. Perhaps in the future there may be a chance." Refused, but unwilling to give up, several Shui women bypassed the sisters and headed straight for Yu Qing, who was idly playing with his daughter in the garden. "Your Excellency, Yu Qing!" A bevy of fresh, pretty girls and young wives surrounded him, their bright eyes full of hope. "Please take us in. We're willing to do anything. Even as concubines or maids, we'd be happy." Looking at their eager, blossoming faces and feeling their intense gazes, Yu Qing's brow twitched. He shook his head almost at once and answered in a clear, firm voice, "Sorry. I already have many wives. Each was chosen with care. All share true affection with me. I won't take other women lightly, so while I appreciate your goodwill, I must decline." His refusal was crisp, leaving no room for fantasy. At his decisive words, the hopeful light in their eyes dimmed, replaced by dejection. They bowed their heads and drifted away in low spirits. Yu Qing's display of self-control won him high praise from Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue. That night, the sisters rewarded him with special treats, details omitted. The next few days, the trio stayed peacefully at the Shui estate, and under the enthusiastic arrangements of the clan elders, a grand wedding formally married Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue to Yu Qing, binding the family to the young titled Douluo. 7 days later, family head Shui Xinhen found Yu Qing playing with his daughter. She drew a breath, her expression earnest and almost pleading. "Your Excellency, Yue Wei says you're leaving tomorrow?" Yu Qing nodded. "The sect's reselection is near. I must prepare." A flicker of hesitation crossed Shui Xinhen's eyes before resolve firmed them. She inhaled again and spoke with utmost respect. "Your Excellency, I have an impertinent request." She bowed slightly. "Yue mentioned you possess a miraculous method to evolve spirits. I beseech you, allow my family to send some youths with you. Though young, their talent is sound. They are our future hope. Let them grow under your guidance. Please grant this." The bold request amounted to entrusting part of the Shui family's future to Yu Qing, yet the transformation of Shui Wei and Shui Wuxiang made the gamble seem worthwhile. Yu Qing admired the family head, who had set aside pride for her clan's sake, and nodded almost at once. "All right, I agree." Quality prospects delivered to his doorstep were welcome. The yin-yang sect, expanding rapidly, needed gifted blood, especially Shui women, blessed with both talent and looks, who would help ensure internal harmony and a sterling reputation. Shui Xinhen had expected protracted negotiation or a steep cost. His ready consent left her elated. "Truly? Thank you, Your Excellency." Overcome, she flung her arms around him. The startling softness struck him like a gale. He almost laughed inwardly. What does this woman eat? Her curves rival even Duan Xin's. The embrace lasted only an instant. Crimson-faced, she stepped back. "Forgive me, I was overjoyed." Yu Qing smiled. "No matter. The next morning, she led a hand-picked group of young clanswomen before him. A single glance confirmed the Shui bloodline's excellence. About 20 girls, the eldest barely 15 or 16, the youngest 12 or 13, everyone lovely, graceful, vibrant. Their spirit power showed innate soul aptitude of at least level 5, several even level 7. Your Excellency, she presented an exquisite storage spirit tool. These children are in your care. She offered another item, 5 million gold coins, an allowance the elders and I prepared. Please accept. The Shui family's thorough courtesy bred goodwill. No wonder it endured as the Douluo Continent's premier female spirit master family. Qing took the spirit tool without demur. Then I accept with thanks. Rest assured, they will receive the finest training. Gratitude, Excellency. Shui Xinhen bowed deeply, eyes shining. With Qing leading, the party left Tianshui City and set off for Sunset Forest. Qing led a grand procession of 28 Shui family maidens, all dressed in matching water blue gowns, southward toward Sunset Forest. A single handsome young man at the head of so many pretty, lively girls naturally drew countless stares and whispers along the high road. Wow, look at that, so many beautiful girls. They're from the Shui house, right? Check the crest on their dresses. Who is that young master? He actually has the whole Shui retinue with him. Tsk, the man's got it made. But the moment people saw the unmistakable Shui crest on the girls' robes, most faces turned respectful. Townsfolk stepped aside and gave the procession a wide berth. No one dared cause trouble. The Shui clan of Tianshui carried formidable prestige in the northern marches of the Heaven Do Empire. Shui Xinhen had planned well. She had appointed a clan elder named Shui Xinro to act as temporary leader of the group. Shui Xinro looked barely past 30, strikingly beautiful and as calm as still water, but there was a shrewd composure to her brow. Her spirit power had already reached the 68th rank, Spirit Emperor. To stand at that level at her age was dazzling. Only the renowned Shui sisters, Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue, surpassed her. She was the future dean of Tianshui Academy, the clan's top prodigy after those sisters themselves. With a Spirit Emperor of her caliber in charge, ordinary trouble melted away. Qing never had to lift a finger. Qing knew Shui Xinro well. He admired the woman destined to helm Tianshui Academy. Her talent, her looks, and her steady efficiency were all exceptional. Even the Shui sisters couldn't help but discuss her in private. Sister, should we invite Xinro into our circle? Shui Wuyue whispered, eyes wide. Shinro's wonderful, strong, kind, beautiful. Our husband will like her for sure. Shui Wuxiang's cool eyes flickered with interest, but she shook her head. Not yet. We'll speak with the others when we're home. It concerns everyone. We can't decide it alone. Shui Wuyue nodded obediently. I'll talk to Aru and Sister Rui as soon as we're back. The journey passed without incident, and in under 2 months, Qing's party reached the fringe of Sunset Forest. Before them stretched a vast, primeval sea of green, wild, ancient, and untamed. Gasps of wonder burst from the Shui maidens seeing it for the first time. Is this where we're going to live? He actually lives inside Sunset Forest. How mysterious, how exciting. I heard this is where Poison Douluo lives in seclusion. Really? Does that mean we might meet him? The girls chattered like sparrows, eyes bright with anticipation. There was no fear at the thought of entering a forest of spirit beasts, only thrill. Shui Xinro stepped gracefully to Qing and inclined her head. Your Grace, should we stop at a nearby town to buy provisions before entering the woods? She asked, sensible concern showing through. So many mouths needed feeding. Qing only smiled. No need. Once you arrive, you'll understand. His voice remained calm. A gentle spirit power spread from him. Silver light flashed beneath his feet. In a blink, the world blurred, twisted, and streaked past like a kaleidoscope tunnel. When sight returned, an entirely new landscape lay before them. They stood at the mouth of a valley that might have been carved from an immortal's dream. At its center lay a colossal, miraculous spring, one side seethed scarlet, bubbling with blistering heat that made the very air tremble. The other shone milky white, exhaling tendrils of frost that could chill a soul to the core. The two utterly opposed waters coexisted in a single pool, each keeping to its own side without ever mingling, a spectacle of breathtaking wonder. Around the spring grew strange flowers and herbs none of the girls had ever seen. Every plant pulsed with vibrant life and pure energy. The entire valley brimmed with heaven and earth origin qi, so dense that a single breath refreshed the heart and seemed to swell one's spirit power. This was the holy land of cultivation every spirit master dreamed of. Even the widely traveled Shui Shinro stood transfixed. Eyes wide and mouths agape, the Shui maidens stared in dazzled rapture like country folk let loose in an imperial garden, overwhelmed by beauty at every turn. It's miraculous. Too lovely. Words fail me. The energy here is so rich. Yu Qing watched their stunned faces with a faint smile. Once the first wave of awe ebbed, he spoke, his calm voice carrying to every ear. This is the seat of our yin-yang sect, the ice and fire yin-yang. Well, he announced, it will also be the place where you live and cultivate from now on. Then his tone hardened. However, there are rules here that must never be broken. First, under no circumstances approach that spring. Second, do not touch any plant growing here, especially the ones that look most beautiful. Break either rule, and you will bear the consequences. The iron authority in his words made every girl shiver. Curiosity gave way to solemn respect. As their leader, Shui Shinru stepped forward and bowed. Yes, Your Excellency. We understand and will obey every rule. Good. Yu Qing nodded, then beckoned to Father Duan. Father-in-law, please see to settling these children. Find them quarters and explain the basics and regulations of the sect. Certainly, sect leader. Father Duan smiled, turned to the lively girls, and said kindly, Come along, children. With the Shui maidens settled, Yu Qing exhaled in relief. He turned to Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuwei, each cradling a baby, and gave them a gentle smile. Let's go. Time to greet the others. The sisters answered. After 3 months away, they too longed for their household within the ice and fire yin-yang well. The three of them flickered and vanished, reappearing an instant later in Yu Qing's spacious, welcoming courtyard. Their return caused an uproar. Aru, Ziruyi, Duanxin, Fox Consort, Purple Pearl, and the rest poured from their rooms, surrounding Yu Qing and the sisters, all talking at once, asking about the journey and telling him how much they had missed him. That night, a grand family feast was inevitable, and when it ended, Yu Qing was pulled, first by one ravenous wife, then another, into a string of rooms for bouts of yin-yang harmonization to ease the ache of 3 months apart. Purple Pearl and Fox Consort, ever the most ardent devotees of yin-yang conjunction dual cultivation, often clung to him for another round after each harmonization. For the next few days, Yu Qing lost himself completely in this tender paradise, chatting with his wives, admiring the blossoms, playing with the children by day, and each night taking turn after turn in yin-yang harmonization. He was so content within those walls that scarcely a thought crossed his mind for anything beyond them. 132. Depart for Wuhan City. It wasn't until dawn that Yu Qing finally crawled out of that tender paradise. He went to the window, opened it, breathed in the crisp air, looked at the bright sun, and let out a long sigh. I'm finally free. If this keeps up, they'll drain me dry. The thought made him privately grateful for the miraculous yin extreme reverse yang art. It could cultivate a thread of pure yang origin inside extreme yin, replenishing his losses without end. Without it, given his wives' appetites, he didn't even want to imagine the consequences. After getting himself together, Yu Qing set off for the residence of Ling Xin and Ling Mao. He wanted to see how the two named disciples had progressed over the past 3 months. When he arrived at their courtyard, he found them sparring energetically. The two figures darted and weaved within the limited space, executing spirit abilities with real power. Their spirit fluctuations were impressive. Yu Qing stood to the side, watching, and couldn't hide his satisfaction. He could clearly feel that the sisters' spirit force had reached the bottleneck at level 50. Only an appropriate spirit ring stood between them and the realm of Spirit King. Not bad, he said, clapping as he stepped forward with a smile. Looks like you didn't slack off while I was away. Master! Hearing him, the sisters stopped and turned with delighted surprise, rushing over like two gleeful birds. Ling Mu blinked her big bright eyes and looked up at him eagerly. Master, we're Spirit Kings now. Can we do that thing with you, like the madams do? Her voice brimmed with frank longing and boldness. Even usually composed, Ling Xin looked at him, a lovely blush crossing her face. Yu Qing didn't know whether to laugh or groan. He rubbed his forehead and his aching lower back. Sometimes being too charming really was a sweet burden. He looked at the two blossoms before him, considered for a moment, then said half joking, half serious, "Well, my agreement alone won't be enough. You have to get the madam's permission. If they agree, your master naturally has no objection." He didn't wait for their reaction. In the next instant, his figure flashed, and he was gone. Faster than when he used the space shuttle technique, very much in the posture of a man fleeing in defeat. Ling Xin and Ling Mo stared at the spot where he'd vanished. They exchanged a glance, then simultaneously broke into bright, sly smiles. "Big sister!" Ling Mo clenched her small fist, brimming with confidence. "Master is testing us. We must work hard to get every madam's approval." Ling Xin nodded firmly, her eyes shining with resolve. We will definitely become master's wives." The sisters' voices, though quiet, held an unwavering determination that echoed long in the small courtyard. Leaving the sisters' yard, Yu Qing walked toward the carefully tended herb plot where Dugubo lived. From a distance, he saw Dugubo and Ning Fengya bent over some plants. Dugubo was patiently explaining the properties of a particular herb while Ning Fengya listened closely, asking the occasional question. The scene was warm and harmonious. A teasing smile tugged at Yu Qing's lips. He lightened his step, crept up behind them, and suddenly called out, "Yo, old poison!" "Not bad. Now you're even sharing hobbies with your sister-in-law?" he added aloud. Ning Fengya jumped at the sudden voice, her face flushing scarlet. She scowled at Yu Qing and fled toward the house like a startled rabbit. Dugubo also started, then rolled his eyes at Yu Qing. "Ye the madman, could you not pop up and scare people to death?" "Heh," Yu Qing said with a grin as he approached. "Just kidding, but seeing you two so lovey-dovey, I can rest easy." Dugubo's helplessness melted into a blissful smile. He gazed in the direction Ning Fengya had gone and said softly, "Fengya truly is the perfect choice for a wife." Then he turned to Yu Qing, gratitude in his eyes. "Little freak, thanks to that spirit bone of yours, Fengya recently broke through to level 70. I was just about to take her to get her 7th spirit ring. Only," he hesitated, troubled, "there doesn't seem to be a spirit beast in Sunset Forest that's particularly suited for her." Yu Qing laughed. "Is that all? A spirit ring is nothing." He rolled up his sleeve and produced a pitch-black crystal that materialized in his palm. Inside, a small beast-shaped silhouette drifted slowly, radiating a pure and potent energy fluctuation. "Here." He handed the crystal to Dugubo. "This is a spirit ring from a moon-scale treasure beast, roughly 42,000 years old. Gem attribute, imbued with moonlight power. It should pair well with sis-in-law's 7-treasure glazed tile pagoda spirit." Dugubo stared at the ring crystal, disbelief written all over his face. He opened his mouth as if to protest, but finally let out a helpless laugh and accepted it after a moment. "You brat, the good stuff never ends on you." "Heh," Yu Qing cocked an eyebrow, smug. "Didn't you always call me the treasure delivery boy? You're just keeping the persona alive." Dugubo poked fun at him, then grew serious. "When do you want Fengya to absorb the ring?" "Less than half a month remains until the new Supreme Pontiff's coronation," Yu Qing replied. Dugubo thought for a moment. "In 2 days. Once Fengya's in peak condition and has absorbed the ring, we'll set off. At our speed, we can reach Spirit City in just a few days." "Good." Yu Qing nodded. "We'll go on ahead. See you in Spirit City." "See you in Spirit City," Dugubo agreed. Dawn came again soon. On the central plaza of the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang, Yu Qing and all the members who were to participate in the reselection of the 7 great sects had gathered early. Around him, aside from Yu Qing, the only man, everybody was an outstanding beauty with her own temperament. Aru, Zirui, Duanxin, Feng Lingyan, Shui Wuxiang, Shui Wuye, Ling Xin, Ling Mao, a veritable brigade of Amazons with explosive combat strength. Yu Qing had also brought several of the sect's younger generation, 3 blue silvergrass spirit masters whose spirits had evolved, to broaden their horizons and let them experience the continent's top gathering. Yu Qing's gaze swept over those confident, battle-ready faces, and a swell of pride rose in his chest. "Depart," he called, his voice firm and resolute. "Target, Spirit City. Let the entire continent witness the might of our yin-yang sect." "Yes, sect leader," came a chorus of confident replies that echoed through the valley. Led by Yu Qing, One powerful figure after another launched into the sky, turning into streaks of light that sped south toward Spirit City. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Thanks to their superior speed, Qing's group had already covered most of the journey to Spirit City. The closer they got to the holy city at the continent's heart, the supreme seat of power in the Spirit Master world, the livelier the road became. Carriages and horses flowed like a river, crowds weaving in every direction. Banners of all kinds marched toward the same destination, some grand and imposing, their flags snapping in the wind, clearly illustrious great sects, while others, though little known, gave off spirit power fluctuations that were no weaker, proving they were also forces with deep roots. It seems Spirit Hall's reselection of the 7 great sects has drawn every power in the land, Qing thought as he watched the converging tide. He knew the real struggle would be fought between the upper 3 sects and the lower 4. Most factions had come simply to be seen, to make a name for themselves. Even if they failed to enter the 7 great sects, showing strength on this stage under countless eyes would bring immeasurable future benefits. All along the way, Ling Xin and Ling Mao used every spare moment to practice the Thousand Refinements Method. Qing had taught them, relentlessly tempering their bodies. Ling Xin, the elder sister, steady and astonishingly resolute, had already tempered her body with spirit power a full 100 times. Ling Mao, lively and mischievous, had shown startling talent and tenacity. Her tempering count had surpassed 150, second only to Eru and Duan Xin in the entire yin-yang sect. Qing judged it was time for the sisters to formally absorb their 5th spirit rings. About 100 li from Spirit City, he led them off the main road to a secluded hill. "Right here. Absorb your 5th spirit rings," he said, pointing to a modest, well-hidden rise. They were close enough to the city, yet the terrain was tucked away so no one would notice. With a thought, he released a surge of spirit power that silently wrapped the hill in an invisible barrier. The seal cut off all aura and sound, and was strong enough that, unless a Super Douluo above rank 95 came personally, no one could detect anything unusual. Only then did Qing take 2 pitch-black crystals from his system space. They pulsed with fierce energy, faint, mysterious patterns twisting inside, and a heart-shaking aura flowed from them. Both crystals had existed for more than 30,000 years. "Crush them," he told the sisters, passing them the crystals. "They'll form rings perfectly suited to your current state. They'll match your spirits exactly." The sisters trusted him without hesitation. They crushed the crystals at once. With a crisp snap, the 2 stones split and reformed into dark rings that glowed from within, their energy pure and mighty. "Sit, focus, and guide them," Qing instructed softly. They obeyed immediately, centering their minds and beginning the absorption. Confident in their 1,000 refined bodies, Qing nevertheless summoned the power of life and formed a rich, emerald aura within 5 meters of them. It would provide powerful healing and protection at crucial moments and ease the ring's integration. Time dripped by. The hill was silent, save for the faint hum of ring energy merging with flesh. 4 hours later, Ling Xin and Ling Mao opened their eyes almost at the same instant. Light flashed in their gazes, and a tremendous surge of spirit power burst forth. Both had reached rank 55. They could feel their physical spirits denser and stronger after absorbing the rings. "Master, we did it!" Ling Mao sprang up like an excited fawn and flung herself into Qing's arms. "We're Spirit Kings now." "Master." Ling Xin rose more slowly. She didn't leap like her sister, but joy shone in her clear eyes. "You promised us something," she murmured. "Can you honor it now?" Her calm tone carried more expectancy than her sister's open excitement, and it quickened Qing's pulse. He rubbed his brow. "Didn't I already say? It depends on whether your senior sisters agree. If they approve, my promise stands." Ling Mao giggled, eyes sparkling. She and her sister exchanged a conspiratorial look. "Master, they already said yes. Before we left, we asked every senior sister. All of them said, 'No problem.'" Qing froze. "What? They actually agreed?" He really couldn't fathom the minds of his wives. Were they really so eager to keep expanding their sisterhood, accepting anyone like that? In the end, he could only sigh at the pair staring up at him with hopeful faces. "All right," he relented. "From now on, you can't call me master anymore." "Yay!" Ling Mao cheered. Then we'll call you Brother Yu Qing, okay? Her voice was syrupy sweet, impossible to refuse. Seeing their excitement, Yu Qing could do nothing but nod helplessly. Do as you like. Ling Mo hugged his arm tight. Ling Xin, less exuberant but no less happy, curved her lips into a blissful smile. Her eyes shone with resolve. Brother Yu Qing, she repeated silently, we'll be good wives to you. 134. The winds of change converge in Wuhun City. After settling the spirit ring problem for Ling Xin and Ling Mo, Yu Qing wasted no time. He took the sisters' hands, a thought stirred in his mind, and silver light flashed beneath his feet. In the next instant, the three of them vanished from the hilltop. When they reappeared, they were already outside Spirit City, 100 li away. Although they had long heard of Spirit City's grandeur, seeing the sacred city in person still stole Ling Xin and Ling Mao's breath away. Compared with vast populous capitals like Heavendo City or Tianshui City, Spirit City was noticeably smaller, even a touch smaller than a major city like Suotuo City. Yet nothing about its scale diminished its impact. The first sight to meet them was a staggeringly tall wall. Spirit City's ramparts were built to the highest imperial standard, higher and thicker than those of Heavendew City. The material wasn't ordinary brick or stone, but a unique granite that gave off faint ripples of spirit power, catching the sun in a cold, majestic gleam. Even more striking, the walls weren't the usual square or circular form, but a perfect hexagon. Each face bore a colossal, lifelike relief of one of the 6 greatest spirits of the Douluo Continent. So magnificent, Ling Mao murmured, mouth agape. So this is Spirit City. Ling Xin clenched her fists, eyes shining with awe and longing. Yu Qing's gaze swept the crowd at the gate and quickly landed on Ru's group, being held up by Spirit Hall knights in gleaming silver armor. He frowned and hurried over with Ling Xin and Ling Mao. As they approached, the situation became clear. A knight who looked like a squad leader was explaining apologetically, "Please calm yourself, Your Excellency. We are only following orders. Your Yin-Yang sect is a new force not yet recorded in our files. Per regulations, detailed registration and filing must be completed before entering Spirit City." Aru, hands on her hips, made her impatience plain. "Registration? Filing? We've been waiting nearly 2 hours. Your efficiency is terrible." Cold sweat dotted the knight captain's brow. He forced a smile. "Your Excellency, as a titled Douluo, your matter is, of course, top priority. But because you are a newly advanced titled Douluo, not yet listed in Spirit Hall's records, there is additional verification required, and the process takes longer. Please wait a little longer. It should be finished soon." Yu Qing relaxed. This wasn't deliberate obstruction, just procedure. Both the Yin-Yang sect and Aru were unknowns to Spirit Hall. A stricter review made sense. He smoothed his expression, a playful smile appearing, and strolled up to Aru's side. Well, who do we have here?" Fancy seeing the famous pink bandit stopped at the city gate. "Let me take a look." His sudden appearance drew every eye. The moment Aru saw him, her irritation melted into delight. She rolled her eyes at him, but pulled him forward and announced briskly to the knight captain, "This is the sect master of our Yin-Yang sect. All our people are here. How much longer will your paperwork take, if you keep dragging your feet?" Her tone hardened. "I don't think you want to handle the wrath of 2 titled Douluos at once." The knight captain paled further. A young, bookish youth before him was the master of this mysterious sect, and apparently a titled Douluo. 2 titled Douluos. Sweat poured down his face. Forcing a smile that barely concealed his terror, he nodded frantically. "Yes, Your Excellency. Please don't be angry. I'll hurry them up." He practically ran toward the registration office inside the gate, cursing his sluggish colleagues and praying he had not angered these unknown titled Douluos. He didn't have to wait long. After the brief time it took to burn a stick of incense, a middle-aged Spirit Hall deacon hurried over, clutching thick documents and a token that glowed with a faint golden light. His face was full of respect and trepidation. "My apologies for keeping Your Excellencies waiting." He bowed deeply between gasps and presented the papers and token with both hands. "These are your sect's registration files and identity certificates issued by Spirit Hall. Additionally, His Holiness the Pope specifically instructed that this elder token be given to Your Excellency Yu Qing. Please accept it. With this token, within Spirit City, you enjoy the same treatment as a Spirit Hall elder. Yu Qing's eyes flashed with surprise. He had not expected Spirit Hall to be so generous, bestowing an elder token, an emblem of high status and privilege. Evidently, Qian Shunji, or the Qian Daoliu behind her, valued this newly emerged wild titled Douluo and hoped to win him over. He did not stand on ceremony and casually accepted the token and documents. Many thanks. Now, may we enter the city? Of course, of course. The deacon hastily stepped aside and made a respectful, inviting gesture. Your Excellencies and members of the Yin-Yang sect, Spirit City welcomes you. Yu Qing nodded, and with Aru and the bevy of Yin-Yang sect beauties behind him, stepped into the sacred city that stood as the pinnacle of the Spirit Master's world. Yu Qing's group entered Spirit City without incident. Inside, the scene was a world apart from the outside. Broad, spotless streets, solemn, majestic buildings, Spirit Hall knights on patrol in gleaming silver armor, and every resident a Spirit Master. A cardinal approached them. Would your graces please follow me? He led them to a colossal, semicircular complex carved into the hillside at the center of the city. Its scale was vast and its aura overwhelming. From a distance, it looked like an enormous spirit arena, but its materials and style were far older and more sacred. Countless reliefs of spirits covered the walls, each one bearing the weight of ages. Your Grace Yu Qing, your Grace Aru, the cardinal said with deference. This is the main venue for the 7 Great Sects re-election assembly and the coronation of the new Supreme Pontiff, the papal altar. It's normally closed to the public, he continued, opened only for the finals of the Continental Spirit Master Tournament, or, as now, for ceremonies of this magnitude. He showed them to a reserved rest area inside the altar, luxuriously furnished, fully equipped, with a perfect view of the entire arena. This zone is set aside for the powers qualified to contend in the 7 Great Sects, the cardinal explained. Other visitors will be housed in the city inns. However, he added respectfully, given the Yin-Yang sect's unique status, His Holiness the Pope has specially granted this separate area for your sect. The assembly will begin 3 days after the coronation, he said before departing. You and your disciples have 4 days to rest and prepare. For the next 3 days, Yu Qing and the Yin-Yang sect remained within the private enclave, making final adjustments and watching the other sects arrive. First came the Upper 3, Clear Sky Sect, 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan. Each arrival drew attention, especially the Clear Sky Sect, few in number, but each member carried a mountain-like presence. Their sect master, Tang Zhen, seemed as immovable as a peak. The lower 4, White Tiger Sect, Elephant Armored Academy, Wind Sword Sect, and Fire Leopard Sect, followed and were assigned to the adjacent rest area. Once all 7 great sects had assembled, the coronation began. The papal altar overflowed with people, every notable power in attendance. Yu Qing and Aru sat in their designated place representing the Yin-Yang sect, and their presence drew curious stares. Only powers of at least lower 4 sects rank occupied this zone, and these 2 impossibly young yet unfathomably deep strangers provoked speculation. Tang Zhen of Clear Sky merely glanced at them, expressionless. The clan chief of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, Yuan Zhen, openly sneered, plainly dismissing this upstart sect. Only Ning Fengji, schoolmaster of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, smiled and walked over with sword Douluo Chen Xin. Greetings, friends, Ning Fengji said, voice gentle and magnetic. I am Ning Fengji, schoolmaster of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Your faces are unfamiliar. May I ask your sect's name? Courteous and unassuming, he showed none of the hauteur usually expected of an Upper 3 leader. Yu Qing, who had once met him while hiding his identity, when he himself had still been only a spirit saint, couldn't help a soft smile. Ning Fengji was also his sister-in-law, Fengya's elder brother. Schoolmaster Ning, an honor, Yu Qing replied, cupping his hands. I am Yu Qing, sect master of the Yin-Yang sect. This is my wife, Aru. Yin-Yang sect. Ning Fengji's eyes flickered. The name rang a faint bell, but its depths commanded respect. So it is Sect Master Yu and your Grace Aru. A pleasure. Your sect is truly blessed with talent. They exchanged a few more polite words when solemn ceremonial music began on the central dais. The coronation had started. All eyes turned as the former Supreme Pontiff Qian Shunji and his disciple Bibi Dong, escorted by scarlet-robed cardinals, mounted the platform. Qian Shunji wore a simple white gown rather than ornate robes. His face showed a mixture of relief and indescribable loneliness. Behind him, Bibi Dong wore a perfectly tailored purple papal dress. Though the crown had yet to rest on her head, her noble bearing already exuded a regal majesty. When Yu Qing looked at her, he felt undisguised amazement. She was beautiful, indescribably beautiful, transcending the mortal. Regal, refined, serene, and utterly bewitching, every line and glance seemed sculpted by gods. He thought wryly that back on Earth, anime fans would have howled they'd gladly be Bibi Dong's dog. He checked himself quickly, however, for he knew all too well the darkness and madness that could hide behind such looks. A pitiful madwoman, he muttered inwardly, his judgment of her character, reserved but blunt. The enthronement proceeded with solemn dignity. When Qian Shunji placed the staff symbolizing the Supreme Pontiff's authority into Bibi Dong's hands, thunderous applause crashed through the sanctuary, marking the end of his era and the start of hers. A venerable platinum bishop then set the radiant pontifical crown upon Bibi Dong's head. The instant it touched her, her aura shifted in quality. She slowly turned to face the congregation, violet eyes shining with a firm, sharp light. "I, Bibi Dong," her voice rang clear and strong, amplified by spirit tools to every corner of the sanctuary, "hereby swear to lead Spirit Hall toward an even more glorious future." Her tone brimmed with unquestionable confidence and resolve, as if announcing the dawn of a new age. Applause and cheers erupted, especially from Spirit Hall's own, some moved to tears. Yu Qing, watching the radiant figure on the dais, felt only skeptical stirring. Glorious, perhaps once, he thought, but fragile, a flash in the pan. "Sect Master Yu," Ningfengji murmured beside him, drawing him out of his thoughts. "What is your view of Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong?" There was a subtle worry in his voice. Yu Qing smiled faintly. "Ambitious," he answered succinctly. "Her desire for control exceeds even Qian Shunji's." Quietly, he added, "and she's a woman tormented by hatred to the brink of madness." Alas, Ningfengji sighed, dismay shadowing his features. Troubled times. With Spirit Hall under a stronger Supreme Pontiff, the continent's future becomes even more uncertain. As they spoke, Ningfengji's gaze swept to a distant corner. His pupils constricted and disbelief crossed his face. That's, he stammered. Fengya? Why is she here?" There, his younger sister, Ningfengya, clung to Dugubo's arm, laughing and intimate. Her eyes shone with open adoration. "Sword uncle," Ningfengji lunged, seizing Chenxin's sleeve so hard his knuckles went white. "Look, Dugubo, that old poisoner, the old rogue has poached my little sister." His voice cracked with fury. Chenxin had seen too and frowned, noting the easy harmony between them, no hint of coercion. "Fengji, calm yourself," Chenxin said. "The girl seems willing." "Willing?" Ningfengji exploded. "How could she willingly cling to a man older than our father? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I'll teach that shameless codger a lesson and bring Fengya home." Yu Qing fought a smile and patted Ningfengji's shoulder. "Schoolmaster Ning, temper. I fear it isn't so simple. Try to thrash Dugubo and your sister will be the first to stop you." "It's rubbish," Ningfengji snapped, losing his usual composure. "My sister could never fancy an old man. He must have tricked her." At that, Ningfengya caught her brother's furious glare and, impish, stuck out her tongue. Under his stunned stare, she nestled fully into Dugubo's embrace and gave him a light, happy kiss on the cheek. The sight struck Ningfengji like a thunderbolt. He froze, color draining from his face. "See?" Yu Qing said with mock gravity. "I told you, your sister looks perfectly content." Ningfengji muttered, shattered. How could his bright, beautiful sister fall for that old poisoner? While he reeled, the ceremony above drew to a close. "Honored guests, thank you for attending," Bibi Dong announced, meeting every gaze. "Please rest in Spirit City tonight. Tomorrow the 7 Great Sects re-election assembly begins. The rite is ended. The Supreme Pontiff Palace has prepared a banquet. Let us proceed and enjoy." With those words, the 2-hour grand enthronement concluded. 136. Sect Conference Opening. Unlike Yu Qing and Eru, who were lingering to enjoy the lavish banquet thrown by the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Ningfengji had stormed off the moment the coronation ended, dragging Sword Douluo Chen with him straight to where Dugu Bo and Ning Fengya were staying. He was furious, determined to demand an explanation from that old bull going after tender grass, Dugu Bo. But when he and Chen Xin returned to the lounge, Yu Qing and Etaru found Ning Fengji wilted like an eggplant after a frost, head bowed, face drained of color. A gray cloud seemed to hang over him. Even his usual gentle smile was gone. "Your Excellency Sword Douluo," Yu Qing, struck by Ning Feng's forlorn expression, couldn't help asking Chen Xin, "What happened to Sect Master Ning?" Chen Xin sighed and shook his head, half amused, half exasperated. "What do you think? That sister of his, Fengya, spent the whole time protecting Dugu Bo." Fengji didn't even get to scold Dugu Bo, couldn't say a single harsh word. Instead, his own sister lectured him. He's pretty crushed right now. Yu Qing fought back a laugh, stepped forward, and patted Ning Fengji's shoulder. In the tone of someone who'd seen it all, he teased, "Sectmaster Ning, take some advice from your elder. Just accept it. People have their own fortunes. Sisters have their own fortunes. Look, Miss Fengya and Dugu Bo clearly get along. You can't force matters of the heart." Without waiting for a reply, he pulled Aru into the lounge, chuckling, and left Ning Fengji to brood alone. The night passed in silence. At dawn, when the first sunlight spilled across Spirit City, the town was already stirring. A tense, excited atmosphere hummed through the streets. Yu Qing had risen early and gathered every yin-yang sect member, taking part in the assembly. Aside from himself as sect master and Aro as their top fighter, the delegation included Feng Lingyan, Spirit Douluo, Duan Xin, Spirit Saint, Zirui, Spirit Saint, Purple Pearl, Spirit Saint, Shui Wuxiang, Spirit Emperor, Shui Wuyue, Spirit Emperor, and the sisters Ling Xin and Ling Mao, both Spirit Kings. 10 people in all, the full yin-yang contingent, 1 handsome young man and 9 striking women, each with her own style and presence. When this procession, Yu Qing and 9 remarkable figures, appeared on the road to the venue, countless eyes turned. The stares ranged from curiosity and surprise to open disdain. Some were plain lecherous, roaming over Aru, Shui Wuxiang, and the others as if appraising merchandise. Duanxin's flame-red eyes flashed cold, and she snorted. "A bunch of idiots courting death." "Enough, Sheener," Yu Qing said calmly. "Ignore these buffoons. Once we're on stage, let our fists shut them up." "Yes, husband!" Duanxin nodded obediently, though her gaze at the offenders remained dangerous, as if she'd already memorized their faces for later reckoning. They soon reached the Supreme Pontiff Terrace. The hall, empty during the coronation, had been converted into 5 identical, independent arenas. Forged of a special black metal, each ring pulsed faintly with spirit power. Clearly a powerful spirit tool array had been embedded to reinforce the stages and protect the audience. Yu Qing led the yin-yang sect to their allotted seats, front row, on par with the upper 3 sects and the lower 4 sects, an indication of Spirit Hall's high regard for this rising power. One by one, more sects filed in until nearly 100 had gathered. The venue buzzed with chatter. Yu Qing knew most were there for appearances or to network. Truly qualified contenders for the 7 great sects slots, aside from the established upper 3 and lower 4, were only a handful of hidden powers with Spirit Douluo. Of those, the yin-yang sect was unquestionably the most competitive dark horse. When every sect was present, a Spirit Hall elder in ornate robes stepped onto the central arena. At the same moment, the new Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong and the former Supreme Pontiff Qian Shunji appeared beneath 2 resplendent thrones at the front, flanked by a procession of cardinals. Their arrival silenced the hall. Every gaze converged on the arena. "Honored guests," the elder amplified his voice with spirit power, the sound rolling through the hall. "Welcome to the 9th 7 Great Sects Re-Election Assembly. The rules of this assembly are as follows. Each sect shall dispatch 10 representatives to compete in the Sect Master, Top-Tier Combat, Mid-Force, Core Disciple, and Young Generation rounds. Every contestant will fight 5 bouts. Victory in a bout earns 2 points. The maximum personal score is 10 points. Final rankings will be determined by each sect's total points. To ensure fairness, all pairings will be decided by lot. Representatives, please step forward and collect your number plates." Spirit Hall attendants quickly handed out numbered tokens to each sect. Yu Qing drew number 11, Aru 23, Feng Lingyan 54. Duanxin, Zirui, Purple Pearl, Shui Wusheng, Shui Wuye, Lingxin, and Ling Mo received 101, 115, 154, 178, 199, 204, and 219 respectively. Since Dugubo was attending under the Heaven Do Empire, rather than representing the Yin-Yang sect, Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuiwei had filled his slots. Once every contestant had a token, a huge screen of light flared above the central arena. A projection spirit tool hovered in the air as numbers raced across the screen. "The first round draw now begins," the elder announced. "Round 1. Young Generation Bouts. Contestants numbered 200 to 250. Please prepare." The numbers slowed and settled on 5 matchups. Number 219 versus number 215. Number 200, number 220, number 211 versus number 243, number 233 versus number 214, number 216 versus number 203. 137. Lingxin wins her first battle. Oh! When Lingxin saw her number appear at the top of the bracket, surprise flashed across her face, but she quickly composed herself. She drew a deep breath and rose from her seat. "Go, big sis!" Ling Mao pumped her small fist beside her, cheering. "Be careful," Yu Qing warned softly. "Stay steady and don't underestimate your opponent." "Yes, master. Big brother Yu Qing," Lingxin nodded, determination in her eyes, and strode toward Arena 3. Her opponent was already waiting at the far end, a towering, muscular youth over 2 meters tall, his sinews coiled like a walking hill. He wore the heavy armor of Elephant Armored Academy and looked at Lingxin with undisguised arrogance, as if she were an ant he could crush. "Tch!" The burly youth gave a scornful laugh. "Yin-Yang sect? Never heard of it. Little girl, which backwater did you crawl out from? With those twigs for arms and legs, you dare join the 7 great sects selection. This lord is Huyanji of Elephant Armored Academy. Be smart and surrender now. Otherwise, once we start, I might accidentally ruin that pretty little face of yours." His voice boomed like a bell, ringing in everyone's ears and dripping with contempt. Lingxin, however, remained calm. She bowed slightly, offering the standard Spirit Master salute, and spoke in a cool, steady voice. "Yin-Yang sect, Lingxin, please advise me." It was the courtesy Yu Qing had taught them, respect before conflict, the bearing of the Yin-Yang sect. "Humph, putting on airs," Huyanji sneered, irritated by her composure. "Since you seek death, don't blame this lord for being rude." "Diamond Mammoth, possess!" A beast-like roar burst from Huyanji's throat. A fearsome aura surged outward, his body swelled another size, and a diamond-bright keratin layer covered his skin. A heavy pressure blanketed the arena. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black. 5 perfectly matched spirit rings rose from his feet and revolved around his massive frame, radiating powerful spirit fluctuations. A 5-ring spirit king, and 1 bearing the famed diamond mammoth spirit, renowned for defense and strength. Huyanji was cocky, but he had the capital, an outstanding talent among his peers. Gasps rippled through the spectators. Elephant-armored disciples shouted support. "Senior brother Huyan, well done! Show that ignorant little girl the might of our academy. Finish her in 1 move." Even so, Lingxin showed no sign of releasing her spirit. She simply stood silently, as if frozen. "Ha ha!" Huyanji grew cockier. "Scared stiff? Too afraid to even release your spirit? There's still time to concede." Lingxin remained silent. She slowly raised her right hand and made a polite please gesture toward Huyanji, graceful and unhurried, as though her opponent were a gentleman about to dance. "Seeking death," Huyanji roared, and his first spirit ring blazed. First spirit ability, Mammoth Charge. Boom! His colossal body shot forward like an unstoppable war chariot, barreling toward Lingxin with such force the arena floor groaned. As the massive frame was about to slam into her, some spectators couldn't bear to watch and shut their eyes. At that critical instant, Lingxin finally moved. Her motion wasn't fast, arguably slow, but it carried an indescribable rhythm. A flowing, jet-black liquid seemed to coat her skin, spreading like a living thing until it sheathed her entire body in a clinging, mysterious suit of liquid armor that accentuated her graceful figure. Eerier still, no spirit rings rose around her feet as they would for an ordinary spirit master. Instead, a cold, perilous aura seeped from her. The ground beneath her hissed as if eating something corrosive. Wisps of green smoke curled upward and a faint, exotic fragrance drifted across the arena. "What is that? She doesn't have spirit rings? Such a sinister aura." Shocked murmurs erupted. Even on the high dice, Bibidong and Chansunji turned to this stage, surprise in their eyes. Smoke and mirrors. Huiyanji sensed something amiss, but his absolute confidence in raw power made him dismiss the display as a trick. He accelerated his charge. The instant his body was about to strike, Ling Xin's right hand, encased in the black liquid, shot out like a ghost and lightly pressed against the diamond keratin covering Huiyanji's chest. The motion looked soft, almost like a lover's caress, a stark contrast to Huiyanji's savage momentum. Then everyone was dumbfounded. A sound like red-hot iron plunged into water rang out. The diamond-tough layer Huiyanji relied on began dissolving before their eyes, bubbling white smoke rising as it corroded away. Excruciating pain shot through every nerve. "Ah!" Huiyanji screamed. His forward charge was halted by that seemingly weightless palm. Staring at the corrosion spreading across his chest, he shrieked, "No! Impossible! My diamond defense? How?" Ling Xin gave him no time to bargain. Her palm trembled, sending a gentle yet overwhelming dark force through the corroded defense and straight into his body. Puh! The blow struck his organs like an avalanche. Blood gushed from his mouth as he flew backward like a snapped kite, crashing at the edge of the stage. He twitched but could not rise. The entire venue fell silent. Eyes bulged, mouths hung open. No one could believe what they had seen. One move, just one, and a 5-ring Spirit King, a disciple famed for defense at the Elephant Armored Academy, had been instantly crushed by this delicate-looking girl, who had never once released a spirit ring. Stage 3, Victor, Yin-Yang Sect, Ling Xin. Only after a long, stunned pause did the referee remember to announce the result. An uproar thundered through the stands. Every gaze turned to the Yin-Yang Sect and Ling Xin with new respect and fear. How is this possible? What is her spirit? The Yin-Yang Sect actually has such a terrifying disciple. Ling Xin slowly retracted the black liquid from her hand. Without sparing Huiyanji a glance, she walked off the stage and returned to Yu Qing's side, as though she had merely done something trivial. "Well done," Yu Qing smiled. "Your use of the body spirit's venom is getting smoother, but next time, control your force a bit. After all, it's a match, not a death fight." "Yes, big brother Yu Qing." Ling Xin answered sweetly, a soft smile blooming on her face. His praise meant more to her than the victory itself. After Ling Xin killed Huiyanji of the Elephant Armored Academy in an instant with what looked like a single overwhelming move, the whole arena froze for a heartbeat before erupting into shocked uproar. The senior figures from the upper 3 sects grew grave. They knew well the defensive reputation of the Elephant Armored Academy. The Diamond Mammoth spirit was counted among the finest defensive spirits. Huiyanji was the Academy's top young talent, his strength unquestioned. Yet an unknown girl had ended him with one strike, and she hadn't even released a spirit ring. That overturned everything they thought they knew. "These sisters, they're not ordinary," Tang Zhen, sect master of the Clear Sky sect, muttered as he watched Ling Xin leave the stage. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. That strange technique can actually corrode diamond defense. If one of my disciples met her, they'd have to be extremely careful. Yuan Zhen, clan chief of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, said. His face still wore a trace of arrogance, but his narrowed eyes betrayed his unease. Yin-Yang sect, he repeated quietly. This tournament's becoming interesting. On the 7-treasure glazed tile school side, Ning Fengji's brow knit tightly. As a spirit support specialist, his reading of the fight was keener. The power Ling Xin displayed was not something an ordinary spirit could produce. He leaned toward Chen Xin and whispered, "Uncle Sword, can you tell what her spirit is?" Chen Xin only shook his head slowly, expression solemn. "It's very peculiar. It looks like poison but isn't, looks physical but isn't physical, and she didn't even use the spirit's full strength. The Yin-Yang sect really hides some surprises." By the end of that bout, Ling Xin's name and the name of the Yin-Yang sect had been deeply imprinted on every major power in the arena, their perceived threat level suddenly on par with or exceeding some direct-line disciples of the big sects. The matches went on. In the second round, Ling Mao took the stage. Her draw was unremarkable, a 4-ring spirit ancestor from a minor sect, an ordinary opponent, but her style was the exact opposite of Ling Xin's. If Ling Xin was mysterious and skillful, Ling Mao was brute force made human. She didn't release a spirit at all. She simply clenched her fist, advanced a step, and shot forward like an arrow loosed from a bow. Her delicate-looking fists slammed into the spirit ancestor's chest with a gale of force. With a heavy, muffled crash, the spirit ancestor didn't even have time to cry out. He was hurled like a broken sack, flew in an arc, and crashed unconscious outside the ring. Another instant kill, this one pure physical power, even more violent and direct than Ling Xin's. The arena fell silent again. People stared at the girl who lightly clapped her hands, as if she had only performed a casual trick. She didn't even use a spirit, someone whispered. One punch? Is that really the power of a spirit king? Monsters. Both sisters are monsters. The stunned silence gave way to fevered discussion. If Ling Xin's victory had the taste of technique and mystery, Ling Mo's was naked power. The impact was undeniable. They must share the same spirit, right? An elder from the spirit hall who specialized in spirit theory said, stroking his beard. But why is the difference so vast? The older sister used that black spirit possession, but the younger blasted a spirit ancestor away with raw strength. Unheard of. Such a unique spirit, could it really be unknown to us? Another elder wondered aloud. Even the usually arrogant, clear sky and blue lightning tyrant dragon sects had to reassess the threat these sisters posed and began quietly recalculating how their own disciples should handle them. The rest of the matches produced many exciting confrontations, especially when disciples of the upper three sects went on stage and displayed overwhelming power. Still, with the dazzling performances of Ling Xin and Ling Mo setting the bar, many other matches felt diminished by comparison. The Seven Treasure Glaze Tile School, being a support system sect, recruited disciples from ordinary backgrounds. While their spirit ranks could match those of the Clear Sky and Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sects in some cases, their spirit quality and individual combat capability lagged. Many of their entrants were quickly dispatched, drawing little attention from the masters. They served more as scenery to highlight the strong. The first day of matches ran late into the night. When the scores were tallied, the temporary rankings reflected expectations. The upper three sects swept the top 3 spots. The surprise was the Yin-Yang sect. Bolstered by the 2 clean victories of Ling Xin and Ling Mo, they had climbed to 4th, pushing all the lower 4 sects below them. Shocked looks spread through the crowd. The Elephant Armored Academy fared worst. After losing their first match, they drew badly in later rounds, facing disciples from the Clear Sky and Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sects and suffering further defeats. Their points were abysmal. They fell to 11th place, failing to crack the top 10. Sect Master Huyan Zhen stared at the list, his face so dark it seemed it might drip. The image of his proud disciple being killed in an instant by a young girl churned rage through him. He could barely contain it. Trash! He fumed inwardly. All of them are trash! Outwardly, he forced a calm air and told himself, it's fine. The young generation contest has 15 rounds. We can't meet such freaks every time. 3 days later, the first round of the Young Generation contests concluded. The competitors took a day's rest before the second round began. Chapter 139, 3 punches dominated the arena. After several days of build-up, the fame of the Yin-Yang sect and the Dark Horse Sisters had spread throughout Spirit City. Today's audience was even bigger than yesterday's. Many had come specifically to see Ling Xin and Ling Mu for themselves, curious whether the rumors of their strength were true. The matchups were announced quickly. Ling Xin drew a disciple from the Wind Sword sect, spirit power level 54, while Ling Mo luckily pulled a disciple from the Elephant Armored Academy. Fate seemed determined to give them eye-catching opponents. Ling Xin's fight began first. The Wind Sword sect disciple specialized in speed and offense. The moment he stepped onto the stage, he activated his flying sword spirit, moving like an unpredictable breeze. Sword Chi circled Ling Xin in swift, jagged bursts, sealing off escape routes. His tactic was obvious: use speed to counter Ling Xin's close combat, unconventional style. For a time, Ling Xin looked put on the defensive. Ripples raced across her black liquid armor as Sword Chi struck. Trapped in a dense web of sword energy, she parried and dodged, seeming at a disadvantage. Excellent, the Wind Sword sect elder cried. Wuhen's tactics are perfect. Keep draining her spirit power, seize an opening, and finish it with one blow. Spectators began to murmur. Looks like the yin-yang girl isn't invincible after all. Windsword's speed really counters her. Every force has its bane. Qing, standing in front of the yin-yang sect seats, watched with a faint smile and murmured to Aru, "Shiner is testing his limits." Aru nodded, understanding clear in her eyes. The Windsword boy's fast, but his raw power isn't enough to break her Xuanming poison body. Feng Wuhen grew restless. Spotting a momentary opening, he flared his fourth spirit ring and prepared a single decisive spirit ability. Fourth spirit ability, Sword Wind Kill. His wind sword erupted in dazzling cyan light, releasing a concentrated bar of sword chi of exceptional speed and penetration. Like a viper, it tore toward Ling Xin's vital points. The strike consumed nearly half his spirit power. Devastating. Ling Xin did not dodge. A cold gleam passed over her face as her footwork suddenly deepened. She moved as if she had become a shadow of a swan, vanishing at an impossible angle and speed. What? Feng Wuhen's pupils shrank as his killing blow pierced only a slowly fading afterimage. Impossible! It was one of the yin-yang sect's core movement arts, the startled swan steps. In the instant his force ebbed, and before he could reorganize, Ling Xin materialized behind him like a ghost. Her hands, coated in Xuanming poison body, rose slowly. Strange green and red sigils glowed on their backs as a dark, oppressive aura began to spread. Not good. Feng Wuhen realized the danger and tried to turn to defend, but it was too late. "Xuanming poison miasma," Ling Xin called. A thick, inky green mist burst forth like a dam breaking, instantly blanketing the arena. The fog cut visibility and carried insidious toxins that paralyzed nerves and corroded spirit power. The moment Feng Wuhen inhaled it, dizziness and weakness hit him. His spirit circulation stuttered. He fought to resist, but the poison seemed to feed on his effort. The more spirit power he used, the faster it was eroded. Within breaths, his face went bluish, his vision dimmed, and he toppled from the air, crashing onto the stage, life uncertain. As the mist thinned, Ling Xin walked to the unconscious Feng Wuhen, placed her hand on his chest, and gently drew the toxins back into herself. Color returned to his face, and he woke, shaken. You lost," Ling Xin said quietly. Feng Wuhen struggled to sit up, bitterness and humiliation on his face, and finally bowed his head. "Yes, I lost." "Arena 3, winner Yin-Yang Sect, Ling Xin," the referee announced. Gasps rolled through the stands. Ling Xin had won again in unpredictable fashion, this time showing both uncanny movement and a terrifying far-reaching poison technique that chilled everyone. "What kind of spirit is this?" people whispered. "A poison ability with that range. Unbelievable." Next was Ling Mu's match. Her opponent was Huyan Li, a disciple of the Elephant Armored Academy and cousin to Huyan Ji, with a spirit power rank of 52. He stepped onto the stage glaring at Ling Mu. His cousin's humbling defeat yesterday had left him seething with hatred for anyone from Yin-Yang sect. Ling Mao, however, only giggled. "Hey, big guy," she called in a teasing tone. "I hear Elephant Armored Academy prides itself on defense. Tell you what, if you can take 3 punches from me, you win. How about it?" Huyan Li froze for a heartbeat, and then flared with rage at being underestimated. Though wary of Ling Mu, he had absolute faith in his academy's defensive techniques. Her casual challenge was the highest insult. "Fine," he ground out. "It's a deal. I don't believe you can break my diamond defense in 3 punches." Huyan Li snarled. He activated his strongest defensive spirit ability. In an instant, his massive frame became coated in a thick, diamond-like keratin that glittered like reinforced armor. Ling Mao's smile widened. "Now that's more like it. Silver body," she called softly. Her form exploded into brilliant silver-white light, and in a blink, a full suit of armor, cast as if from pure silver and trimmed with gold, materialized over her. The petite girl now looked like a war goddess descended to the arena, valiant, awe-inspiring, utterly different from the girl-next-door persona she usually wore. "Another spirit transformation we've never seen," people exclaimed. "Silver armor, so cool!" "Are they really twins? Their spirits are completely different." Momentarily unnerved by Ling Mao's imposing figure, Huyan Li nonetheless tightened his resolve. To be safe, he also triggered his first spirit ability, Impregnable Wall, further bolstering his defense. "Bring it on," he shouted. Ling Mu smiled with the silver visor glinting. Without any flourish, she clenched a gauntleted fist, stepped forward, and fired off like a cannonball toward Huyan Li. First punch, she announced. Boom! Her fist struck his chest with a deep, bell-like crash. His large body lurched back a dozen steps before he steadied himself. Fine hairline cracks spidered across the diamond layer on his chest. But it held. He thought he'd blocked it. Second punch? Ling Mao said before he could recover. Bang! This blow was faster and heavier. Huyan Li barely managed to cross his arms, but the force smashed into him like a tidal wave. The diamond armor across his arms and chest shattered with crisp, ringing fractures, scattering into glittering dust. No, he screamed as his strongest defense collapsed. Third punch! Ling Mo's voice was cold, final. The third blow came instantly. The air screamed as her fist landed squarely on his chest. Pain seared through him. His vision went black. His massive body flew off the ground like a broken kite and arced out of the ring, crashing past the boundary to lie in the dust, utterly unconscious. 3 punches. Just 3 punches. Ling Mao had kept her word and blasted the defense-proud disciple of the Elephant Armored Academy out of the arena with overwhelming force. Silence fell over the venue. Everyone stared at the silver-armored figure standing proudly in the ring, sunlight glancing off her armor as if crowning the victor. 140. Shocks and lessons learned from all sides. On the high platform, the senior members of every major sect, along with the elders of Spirit Hall, who had been relaxed and appraising moments before, now sat bolt upright, their eyes fixed on the Dark Horse sisters who seemed to have fallen from the sky, shock and bewilderment written across their faces. What kind of spirit is that? A white-haired elder from Spirit Hall's Deep Research Division muttered, stroking his beard, his brows so tightly knitted they could crush a fly. I've lived long enough to think I'd seen every kind of spirit, but something like theirs is a first, another elder added. It doesn't show any beast transformation traits like a beast spirit, and it doesn't condense a physical weapon like a tool spirit. A portly elder chimed in. It's not elemental either, no command of natural forces. Bizarre, utterly bizarre. Could it be an extremely rare body spirit? A younger-looking elder mused. They say body spirits vary wildly. Some strengthen a body part, others produce effects similar to elements. Possible, someone agreed. Ling Xin's liquid coating and deadly venom, Ling Mao's silver armor and monstrous strength, both could fit body spirit traits. But when has a body spirit ever produced such overwhelming power? Another objected. And twin sisters, both wielding heaven-defying body spirits. The young elder shrugged. Low odds, but maybe it's a mutated body spirit. Speculation swirled among these seasoned giants of the Spirit Master's world, but no convincing conclusion emerged. The sisters' abilities hung in the air like a fog, leaving them more puzzled and uneasy than ever. At the pinnacle, on the papal throne, Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong's starry violet eyes never left Ling Xin. Her gaze was sharp as a blade, peeling the girl apart layer by layer. The faintest, almost playful curve touched her lips. Donger. Qian Shunji, seated beside her, noticed her unusual focus and asked softly, What is it? Interested in that little girl called Ling Xin? Bibi Dong slowly withdrew her gaze, regal and cool. She shook her head slightly. Nothing special, just a promising seedling. Oh, Qian Shunji raised a brow. If even our new Supreme Pontiff calls her promising, she must be extraordinary. Planning to take her as your personal disciple? No. Bibi Dong's answer was crisp. She glanced toward the arena again, a shadow flickering deep in her eyes. I just want to see how far she'll go, how many surprises she'll bring me. Beneath her calm voice, only she heard the thought, Heh, resonating so clearly with my second spirit. How very interesting. How many secrets is this yin-yang sect hiding? When the day's matches ended, everyone left with a restless unease. As Yu Qing led the still unsatisfied Ling Xin and Ling Mao out of the pontifical sanctuary, a tower-like figure blocked their path. It was Hu Yanzhen, sect master of Elephant Armored Academy. His face was so dark it seemed to drip, his bloodshot eyes bulging, chest heaving. His 2 proud personal disciples, Hu Yanji and Hu Yanli, had been crushed by the sisters, swiftly and humiliatingly. Hu Yanli especially had been gravely injured. Even if he recovered, his strength and future prospects would suffer. To Hu Yanzhen, the blow was devastating. Sect Master Yu, Hu Yanzhen's voice thundered like a drum. What is the meaning of this? Your disciples were vicious. Crippling my disciples from Elephant Armored Academy, he roared. Do you not owe this sect an explanation? His tone demanded recompense. A spirit Douluo's mighty aura surged toward Yu Qing's group, trying to overwhelm them. Yu Qing didn't even raise an eyelid. Instead, Ling Mao stepped forward first, hands on hips, glaring up at the man nearly twice her height. "Hey, big guy," she barked. "Aren't you ashamed? Injuries happen in arena fights. Besides," she tapped her nose, "I took your disciple down with 3 simple punches, no spirit ability used. His defense was lousy. Who's to blame? Was I supposed to stand still and let him hit me?" "You." Hu Yanzhen trembled with rage. No junior had ever dared rebuke him in public. Blood rushed to his head. "Impudent brat, hold your tongue." Before the words finished, he raised a palm the size of a fan, fierce wind howling as he slapped toward Ling Mu, intending to teach the insolent girl a lesson she wouldn't forget. "Sectmaster, stop!" the elders behind him cried, paling, but it was too late. Spectators gasped. No one expected Hu Yanzhen to strike a child. Yet the instant that palm was about to land, everything changed. A figure appeared silently in front of Ling Mao. Yu Qing. He made no grand gesture, only lifted a finger and tapped the oncoming palm. Bang! A dull boom echoed. Hu Yanzhen's massive frame flew backward faster than he'd come, smashing into a stone pillar several men could encircle. Cracks spider-webbed across the stone as he slid to the ground like mud. Blood spurted, his face turned paper white, serious internal injuries. Silence, deathly silence. Everyone froze in horror and disbelief. One move, no, not even a move, just a casual finger, had sent a level 85 spirit duo flying, utterly crushed. What terrifying strength was this? "Titled Douluo," someone finally stammered, breaking the suffocating quiet. "He's definitely a titled Douluo," another declared. "The Yin-Yang sect sectmaster is a titled Douluo." Someone else sneered. "Elephant Armored Academy's taken a serious hit this time."